Hello everyone, Screenplay Archaeology host KiramidHead here. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to get some intro stuff out of the way. First things first, we are now part of the Fandom Limb Media podcast network, so I'm going to link their site down below. And that's why you would have just heard a promo for another podcast, because they're another one of the shows on the network. And as per usual, if you like the show and you'd like to know more, you can check out our social media pages on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, and even Instagram now. The show also has a Patreon if you're willing to gift money, but you don't really need to if you don't want to. And we also have a Discord server, which you can join if you want to chat with, the group members there. So that link is going to be down below as well. So yeah, sit back, guys, and enjoy the show. Alright everyone, hello and welcome to a new episode of the Screenplay Archaeology podcast. I am your host KiramidHead, aka Bruce.
I am frequent guest of this show, Jake of Hot Quality Content fame and Very Handsome Man.
I am Xander of Emerald Quill Studios, first time guest, and I make monster short movies. Self-proclaimed expert on how to make a monster movie.
I would also proclaim you an expert.
And between the three of us, we are the Universal Monsters podcast. Go listen to that show.
Yes, it is the reason we are all here to talk about a script that's near and dear to our show's heart.
Yeah. Me and Xander are the vestigial limbs of Jake, who is the actual heart and soul of the show.
It really is true, yeah.
I know how to say an intro really quickly, just to burn through it and get to the good stuff.
And you always have a joke on hand. But no, today, as you can guess from the stuff we usually do together, we are going to be doing a Universal Monsters script. And this is maybe the fastest turnaround from me getting the script to doing an episode I think I've ever done.
If I'm allowed to comment on that, it's a fucking Dark Universe script.
Yes.
It's literally like forever. All I badger you about is like, get me as many of these scripts as you possibly can. And you're like, they're either on lockdown or nobody thinks it exists anymore. And then the moment you got this, I was like, lock me in. And then Xander said the same thing. So we just...
Yeah, I was like,
can
I come in too?
I think it took like, what, a week? Like that was a week ago, that conversation?
Yeah,
it
definitely
literally
was
a week and a half at most.
Absolutely crazy.
Absolutely crazy we managed to do this. And so, yeah, what we're going to be covering is the Dark Universe version of The Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's one of two drafts. It's one of two versions from two writers that we know of. And I'm assuming the other writer rewrote this. But this is going to be the draft by Jeff Pinkner. We'll talk about him in a minute. And to just give you a basic idea of the plot of this version of The Creature from the Black Lagoon, it's essentially there is this pharmaceutical company called the Diamond Corporation discovers, they have all these bases they send through the Amazon looking for medical shit. And the one at the Black Lagoon sends them word back of this weird kind of like super virus that they found that could be very useful for things, including curing cancer. But contact is lost, and so a team gets sent in to find out what's going on. Ensue creature antics.
Real quick, do you know if this was this just like a script that was still being like worked on, or were they pretty like close to like this was like the script that they were locked in or anything? Like, do you have any insight on that?
All I know is there was one more writer after this, and I'll talk about that after we're done, because being your first time on the show, I try and do everything before the script before we talk about it, and everything after it after we talk about it.
Okay.
Well, just thinking out loud, like logically here, this is dated May 2016. That's like a full year before Tom Cruise's Mummy came out. So they probably have been revising that for at least a year after that point before it bombed. So
yeah, it's just because there's like a lot of things that I won't get ahead of myself.
Yeah, and it was announced in the middle of 2015, I think. Maybe there's some ambiguity as to this thing because there was some question initially because we didn't know anything about it because the initial article announcing specifically this writer didn't say it was part of the Dark Universe or the Universal Monsters Cinematic Universe because it didn't have a name until like 4 weeks before The Mummy came out.
The UMCU? Are you shitting me?
People were just calling it Universal Monsters Shared Universe because no one knew what the fuck it was called. It didn't have a name.
Yeah, I guess so.
And so, to give just a quick snapshot of this, because this will take forever. There's a whole 4-hour episode about this in the show if you want to go back in the playlist. But Creature from the Black Lagoon is, I mean, we've talked about it on Universal Monster Podcast, so we don't have to talk about, like, the original movies here, but it's really the last classic Universal Monster movie.
Yeah.
It's fair to say.
Like, it kind of comes in out of nowhere at the tail end of, like, they were in a whole different set of movies, but this one stuck. And it got lumped in with all the other ones, like Frankenstein and Dracula. It's also the one, but it's also the one, as far as I know, that has had the longest ongoing development of a remake. Because it's still ongoing now.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Well, that and we never got a remake.
Yeah, we never got one. They've been trying to do one since 1981.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is the only monster in the lineup that's never real. I mean, besides Shape of Water, I don't think I've ever seen a remake or much anything with Gilman.
The closest is Monster Squad. And that's unofficial.
Yeah, Monster Squad, of course.
And Bride of Frankenstein also hasn't gotten anything, and they've been trying that one too, but only since 92, so this one beats it by 10 years. But yeah, you've had a whole bunch of different versions. You had, like, John Landis, producing it in 1981. That version was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. Then you had John Carpenter in the 90s. You had Ivan Reitman was doing one. You had Gary Ross, who is the son of Arthur A. Ross, who's one of the 3 writers of the original movie. He was producing, and there's like a version he wrote throughout like the mid 2000s. And there's all this stuff where like Del Toro was attached, but nothing ever actually happened there. Like it didn't even get to a script phase. You had, like, for about half a minute, the creature was going to be in Van Helsing for, like, a brief cameo. But on and on, there's just all these different versions that just never happened for one reason or another. And the only thing separating Dark Universe from all of those is the fact that it was just the latest one in line, in a very long line. And this one, it was announced sometime, it was, like, either late 2014 or early 2015. There was talks of, like, they're going to do another one with Scarlett Johansson, maybe. But it didn't say who was involved. And then, like sometime in 2015, I think it was like June, July, they announced Jeff Pinkner is going to write it. But they don't say it's going to be Dark Universe, which is interesting. And we know from reading it that, of course, it is. And so Pinkner's a guy who's interesting because he's mainly known for his TV work. He's part of the J.J. Abrams group. Like, he had worked on Alias, he had worked on Lost, he was the co-creator and writer of Fringe, which is, like, the big thing he's known for. And then you look at his movie credits, and it's a bizarre list, because his feature film debut as a writer was, I shit you not, The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Ooh,
my god.
He's one of, like, 6 writers credited on that movie, so who knows?
This explains
I mean,
a lot.
well, to be fair, you're right, Bruce. There's 6 writers on that movie. There's a lot of in that blender of a movie. There's a lot of good in it.
Yeah.
So maybe he did some of the good stuff, or maybe he did some of the real bad stuff. Who knows?
And you know who was one of the other writers on that movie? It was Alex.
Don't even.
It was Alex.
Don't
Kurtzman.
you mention his?
We have to, because he's part of this whole thing.
My nemesis.
He was the one making the whole Dark Universe happen, and he, of course, is another J.J. Abrams alumni. But you look at it, it's like, you look at the filmography, it's like, it's Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's like one other thing in there. Then there's the Dark Tower movie, which was terrible, but I know it's not his fault because I've read one of the drafts he worked on with Akiva Goldsman, and it was really good. It's recognizably similar to the movie, but the movie fucks it up so badly. It's like, how did they do that? And then it's like, it's that, and then it's like the 2 Jumanji reboots, and the first Venom.
Oh man, that's an eclectic list of things.
Yeah, that's
that
very strange list.
very interesting resume.
I mean, when you read the creature script, you're like, yeah, I get it.
No, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I put this a little over Venom because it didn't bore me.
I don't know. It's got some vibes. It's not dissimilar to 2018's Venom.
Yeah, it's got a lot of similarities to Venom when I think about it.
It's been a long time since I watched Venom.
It's even, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but the creature has like tentacles and tendrils and shit.
Yeah.
And like skin that move. I don't know. I'm not making any baseless assumptions here, but like it seems pretty similar.
Oh, I'm making baseless assumptions.
But yeah, as we said before, this is a screenplay dated May 7th, 2016, so it more or less comes in between the two other Dark Universe scripts we covered because Wolfman is roughly February of 2016 and Van Helsing is August. So they're all working on these around roughly the same time.
It's odd that every single script just like thought they could also get Russell Crowe back in a cameo. Like they all do the same. They don't even get a new character in there.
Well, Wolfman didn't have Russell Crowe.
Did it not? I swear it did.
It had a different Prodigium guy.
Oh my God, you're right.
Okay.
Who shows up
entirely unrelated.
Who
guy.
shows up, and by the way, for anyone who hasn't listened for our episode, there's that guy who's in it in a couple scenes, and he shows up at the end with a special guest.
He does.
Yes, who is.
And then they reference this creature from this lagoon at the end of that script.
Maybe I have theories about that, but I'll save that till the end. But yeah, he shows up with a special guest whom the Wolfman can't see, but he can smell him. And he is Dr. Griffin, whose first line is "Aloha" because it's set in Hawaii.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Damn,
I don't know if I don't remember if I read that script before I wrote the book. I think I wrote the book first. I think
Yes,
that was
you
much
did.
before. But I did the same trick with a Wolfman smelling an Invisible Man's presence. So
Right.
what can I say?
Yeah.
Great minds, I guess. I don't know.
But I mean, you were working on the book for a while, so it could have been contiguous to each other.
It incepted into my brain. I was like, I must copy the Dark Universe.
And if you don't, if you don't know what we're talking about, by the way, Devil's League in stores now.
It's everywhere. Yeah. Books are sold, baby. Available now on all bookshelves. Woo!
I mean, not to be that guy, but Wolfman sniffing out the Invisible Man, that kind of par for the course. I mean, I even thought about an idea for that if the Wolfman fought the Invisible Man.
But did your version also have it on a beach and have the Wolfman walking away while he gives the Invisible Man the finger?
Oh, well, hold on, let me open up my PDF real quick. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so we're just going to dive right into it.
All right, let's do it.
So it opens on a young girl and boy fleeing from something through the woods, hiding inside a hollow tree trunk as it approaches. A door opens, revealing them to really be hiding inside a closet, and an angry, drunken man grabs the boy and drags him away, only for Eve Burke to snap awake from her dream. So we got our dream sequence opening, guys.
Wow, can I tell you something? I know this is the first, we're just starting the show. Like, we literally just had like 10 seconds of the show so far. But like, oh my God, now that I've finished the script, that's so not important.
Oh yeah, no, it should have been cut out completely.
It like never comes back. It like, all they do in the script is just mention or just look at the scars that she potentially does have from this dream or not. And it's like, not important. I'm like in shock right now that like that was even in the script. Like they totally shouldn't have had that.
It's semi-important to her character and her actions until it's not. I'll just say that.
I don't really even think it matters that much. I mean, unless the plan was to just like set up things for like in future sequels to develop, but
that's my idea. Like that's all I can think of what they were doing.
But knowing the Dark Universe, I'm not going to give it that's...
I will explain what I mean later, because it's not handled as well as it could be, and after a certain point, it is pointless, but I'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
And so she then takes the bus to her place of work, a medical research center in Philadelphia, which is like, for some reason, it's in the middle of like an old monastery. Those things we had a lot of in Pennsylvania.
I also want to point out, because this is technically the part in the script, it's always a peeve of mine when I read a screenplay and they introduce a character who's like the main character and they say, 20s, hot, eyes of steel, hair that flows like my balls. Like, time is money, Like a screenplay, it's not like a novel where you can like elaborate with like detail and sensation. Literally every word on the page costs money. It's like,
Yeah.
and like this is Hollywood. Like everyone is an attractive man or woman in their 20s. You never need to clarify that anyone is attractive. If anything, you would have to clarify if someone is unattractive if it's relevant to the story. And even then, you just cast an actor with perfect fucking cheekbones and cover them in makeup anyway. So.
And her looks come up in dialogue, so it's equally kind of.
Yeah.
The screenwriter adds a few notes, a couple to, I mean, not to jump ahead, but I mean, there's literally a part where he outright writes, "She looks sexy in a bath towel." I'm like,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Puts on a bikini, everyone looks at her. Gets weird look. She looks back, everyone looks away.
I really don't. I mean, maybe I just don't know how modern scripts are written or something, but when I was taking my script writing class and stuff, like, you're not supposed to write stuff like these little comments and stuff. Like, it's the script has like all these unnecessary like things.
Okay, let me explain something, Xander. Those rules only exist as it's basically like a waist high fence for newcomers. These rules only exist for newcomers to give them a standard, and once you're an established professional, they don't mean shit.
Yeah,
well, I mean, the best example of that is like Shane Black, who writes like all kinds of bullshit in his scripts.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I remember they taught us that it's like once you get established, then you can do whatever you want. But I'm not gonna lie, just as someone who has written a ton of scripts, I'm just reading this and I'm thinking, damn, dude, you do not need to write when she denies her coworker the dinner and she's like, "Oh, you got a date," and then she gets the chips and then on the script she goes, "She clearly didn't have a date." Yes, I got that asshole. I could infer. As Jake said,
you know
words
what that
are
is?
money.
I'll tell you what that is. That's probably the screenwriter passing it on to the producer and knowing the producer's gonna barely skim this while eating a taco, so I gotta spell everything fucking out for him so we can make the movie right.
So which producer do you think it is? Do you think it's Kurtzman or Chris Morgan in between writing Fast and Furious movies?
Oh man, good point. I mean, if it's the Fast and Furious producer, then we know exactly who our target demo is.
Family.
Fuck.
Look, I'm just saying, these were my pet peeves during that.
All right.
Even if I understand, dummy, I'm like, okay.
Okay, we see that she's good with patience as she keeps a sick young girl at ease by doing goofy voices while she takes a blood sample.
I actually like that part.
I like that.
I thought that was pretty good.
That tracks with how she interacts with the creature.
Yeah. And I don't know, I could see it playing in my head. I was like, yeah, this is a nice, gentle moment. I would have found, I don't know, right actress, that's a really charming scene.
She never does a voice again. But.
Yeah, that's right, she doesn't.
It's odd to intro that, because I thought she was just British, and then it's like, oh, she drops the accent because you're just kidding with a child. I was like, oh, okay.
Eve then mixes the blood with several compounds to make a serum and injects it into a rat. Her research assistant Marla tries to get her to go out to dinner, but she makes up a lie about having a date, so Marla will go away. And she's getting chips from the like hard cuts to her getting chips from the vending machine, and it gets stuck in that way that hardly ever happens in reality. And she's like, "Damn!" and punches the glass.
That actually happened to me recently, though.
It only happened to me once. It was in high school, and I still have the photo, but. It was like a freak event where like I had like fucking 4 or 5 bags of chips because I came up to the vending machine. Sorry, this has nothing to do with Creep from Black Lagoon. I was at the vending machine and there were already like 3 bags that other people have wasted their money on trying to get that were on top of each other. So I bought a 4th and it fell on the pile. And
oh god!
I was like, God damn it, man.
For me, it was a Scantron because it was like one of those vending machines for Scantrons.
Oh, I forgot those exist.
Yeah, and it got caught on the lip, and I'm like, God, son of a... So I had to go outside, grab a stick, and, like, jam my arm inside to do it. 12 a.m. at night at this fucking college, thinking, God, what am I doing with my life?
No, it's...
Anyways.
No, tangents are fine to a degree. Podcast listeners like tangents. There's one I listen to off and on where For the last 3 months, they have been going on Red Hulk tangents in every episode.
Oh God, I love that.
And so where the hell am I? Okay, so Eve stays late and keeps watch over the experiment, but the rat dies. And so,
Oh no.
on her way home, Eve successfully, and she's also, it mentions she's in West Philadelphia, so my mind started playing the Fresh Prince
Fresh
theme.
Prince, yeah.
Born and raised, playground is where I spent most of my days.
Maybe the crazy woman is his mom. But there's a crazy homeless woman because she offers to buy a rock off of her with $5. And something we learn is a regular occurrence when she gets back to her apartment and sets the rock down with several others. She keeps the rocks.
Yeah,
I like that scene. I thought it was good.
It's okay, but it's redundant because we already have... It's showing that she knows how to deal with danger and also showing she knows how to communicate in dangerous situations.
yes, that is true.
Yeah.
However, I also felt like it doesn't... Aside from what you just said, it doesn't add anything else. Like, it's not like that character comes back. It's not like at the end of the movie she goes back and, like, talks to that character, or changes anything. I don't know. It feels like a weird thing. I get what you're saying, but, like, you don't really need it.
It's a weird way to do it.
Out of all the scenes that happen, I actually think, in the beginning of this, I actually think this was the most, like, justified. Because, like, I read that, I was like, oh, okay, I like that. And then later on in the script, it made sense to me. And it certainly was a lot more useful than the next scene coming up. So,
So Eve changes her shirt, which allows us to see her hideous scars on her lower back and hip from a beating, they say. And so basically, abusive dad, abusive childhood. She never comes right out and says it, but you get the idea. I like they don't harp on. I like that they don't harp on it, but it could have gone. They could have done more with it.
Abusive dad, abusive childhood. Has she seen the creature before? If she hasn't, then why was she dreaming about it? Like,
she wasn't.
Or was
dreaming
that
about,
not a dream?
She wasn't dreaming about the creature. She was having like a dream, like a fantasy dream of running from a monster, but the monster was actually her father.
That's really coincidental. That's really coincidental that she goes to see an actual fucking monster later on in the same movie.
In the woods.
B, more importantly,
the
roar that the dream monster does is written the exact same way as the creature roar. So I assume they're going to sound design that the exact same as the creature roar. And then she has scars, so I'm thinking like she got fucked up by the creature in the past is like what I took away from that. And then again, we're revisiting the opening scene. Useless.
See, that's what I'm saying. The opening scene is useless compared to the rock scene. That's useful.
It is more useful than the opening scene.
Yes, and the you just know the makeup is not going to make the scars look like anything.
No, it's going to be like a fucking woman who could use her own fucking calendar. She's so beautiful. And they're going to put like the tiniest, like the most adorable little fucking scar on her chest. Ooh.
Like Rebel Moon.
I chose not to see that. I'm happy with my decision.
I haven't seen a lot of it. I just know Sofia Boutella has got like a scarred back.
Oh no! I bet she's not super attractive now. Oh, no.
And that's not a tangent because that's a Dark Universe connection. Boom.
Boom.
All right. Okay. This is maybe the weirdest scene in this script. She then finds a random cat in her apartment, goes to her next door neighbor's apartment, returns it to the neighbor, and then she has sex with him. And we never see.
Yeah, we never.
You want to talk about scenes that should have been cut out that have nothing? That one, oh my god! I read that. I was like, "What the fuck is the point of this?"
Oh my god!
I didn't even need to finish the story without even deciding that this guy was never coming back.
He's not coming back because his name is Handsome Neighbor.
Yeah,
first of all,
what the fuck?
But where does a guy gotta move to just have your neighbors give you your cat back and fuck you on sight? No dialogue, no spooning.
I just realized he got pussy twice.
This pussy came with pussy.
But you gotta understand, the main character is a sexy woman. We have to see her have sex.
Exactly. Now I get it. That's why they said she was hot. Now I understand that she's hot. The producer,
hey,
now
man,
get the movie.
Guillermo del Toro did it better. I'm just saying.
Oh my god, I thought about Shape of Water the whole time.
Jake, I know Mummy's Near and Dear, you got it. They had to do something to one up Tom Cruise. He just talked about how he fucks. She actually did it.
They could actually. So he said they show it for 15 seconds. They actually show for, I think, about 15 seconds it happening. So it's show don't tell, baby.
Okay, I want to dissect the setup for this scene. Her neighbor's cat is in her apartment. They don't establish how it got in there because her window's not open.
You make a great point. I didn't think about that.
Wait a minute, did you? Wait, I'm not finished.
Okay.
All I can assume is that he deliberately put his cat in her apartment, and that's like their secret signal for bone time.
Oh, so in your headcanon here, they regularly bone. But that's like a code, and he's like, I'm gonna put my cat.
I mean,
here
I feel
instigate.
like they clearly have before.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jake, I know it's hard because the writer didn't explicitly write after they have sex that this is a ritual they often do, reading out. But it was implied, for me, I kind of took the implication this is a regular kind of thing.
I don't know. Just because, like, he was not mentioned or established prior, it's not like they say, like, anything regarding that they know each other already, other than, like, maybe they're neighbors already, and it just happens. He seems surprised by it. I don't know. It's a stupid scene regardless, no matter how you slice it. Just take it out.
Well, the point is, it needs to be cut.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course it needs to be cut. But so she goes back to her own apartment, and she gets a mysterious email, which she shares with Marla via Skype, which is how you know this is an old script now.
Oh boy, I love Skype.
Yeah, wow. Didn't think about
What,
that.
what would it be now? Would it just be generic?
Zoom. It would be Zoom. It would be Zoom or
Zoom,
Teams.
Well,
right.
It would be a nondescript, like, I'm not licensing the word Zoom.
Yeah.
It's going to be video chat me now time is what they're going to use.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I used to record the show over Skype with MP3 Skype recorder. What a shit piece of software.
Damn.
Anyone remember Google Hangouts?
I never
My
used
old
it, but
job
I
used
remember.
that.
I used to use it. Oh, you still? Oh, wow.
No,
okay.
Not like that old job that I had still uses it, but in my current job do not.
But so the video file attached to the email shows footage from a microscope of strange black cells floating around, and they say it looks viral, but unlike any virus known to science, since it seems to be thriving outside of a host. And I hear this, and my brain immediately goes to Prometheus.
Yeah, Prometheus. That's right.
That is not the point in the script in which my brain went to Prometheus. I'm laying seeds for some. I'm foreshadowing.
Yeah, you are sowing your oats. But okay, but yeah, and it's interesting is that they straight up call this thing a virus, and they didn't actually call it a virus in those movies until Covenant. It straight up doesn't have a name in Prometheus. It's just some black goo.
Yep.
It's the black goo. I mean, come on. It's the ooze.
It's the black oil from X-Files. We then
It's the symbiote.
Yeah. Oh, God. We then catch up with Eve on board a helicopter flying over the Amazon, along with geophysicist Simon Curtis, who is very airsick, and environmental engineer, quote, quote, Jack Swift, even though he just seems to be action bum guy throughout this whole thing.
You know, now that I really think about it, Jack Smith seems like...
Jack Swift.
Jack Swift, sorry. Jack Swift basically seems like Tom Cruise's character.
He does a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
He's better.
So, Jack Swift is like what a 5-year-old boy would think that a cool action hero man would be named.
No,
it's just a joke.
It's a little above that. Remember, there's the one Mummy script where the character's name is Tyler Colt.
Don't bring me up Tyler Colt again. I'll go off again. But, like, of
What's
course,
wrong with Tyler Colt?
when they introduce him in the script, fucking Jack Swift, they're like, handsome in the right light, rugged with a pirate's charm. You know? Like, come on. It's the same bullshit again.
It's funny because Jack Sparrow would have been in this universe.
Oh, yeah,
of
that's
course.
true.
But Xander, what's wrong with Tyler Colt is that he's a super badass military man named after a gun.
Oh, okay.
But also, Jack Swift, he is the Clark Gable of this script.
100%.
Watch
He
the
really
Monster-thon if you want to know. But he has come straight from a project in Greenland because he does environmental cleanup stuff.
And I believe he said he hasn't slept in 2 days or something like that.
And I'm going to fast forward and say he's not here to do anything environmental. He's here to be a badass in case, the weather gets bad. That's his only job.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah, we'll get to why they're here in a minute. The reveal is it's like laughable in my opinion.
And it will continue to it gets worse as it goes along. Because, it kind of hangs together a little bit. Like, the script definitely needs fixing. But there's something that happens that just makes it go... Poof. But, okay, so Eve tells him that she's working in genetic reprogramming because she says, she assumes they all have the same job. And he's like, no, I don't do that. And it's like, she's studying natural healing systems. And Jack goes, oh, like Wolverine and like an attempt to flirt by being a nerd. And she somehow doesn't know who Wolverine is.
I was about to say, who the hell hasn't fucking heard of Wolverine? But then, later on in the script, she has a line where it's like, oh, like, mutants flying across the sky. I thought she played coy now because she later does. I don't know. It's unclear either way. Maybe they needed more bullshit notes in the sides that they tell you not to do in screenwriting class. I don't know. I don't fucking know what's going on.
But yeah, the reference goes completely over the head, but the charm works.
Oh, of course. Well, he's handsome in the right light and rugged with a pirate's charm, don't you know, Bruce?
And he knows where the rum is.
All I'm saying is handsome neighbor gets two pussies. This guy gets 4, probably, on a daily, without even
Not
trying.
this script.
Well, they're both described as handsome. So that's how the script tells you, hey, they're important, they're good at all, even though that one guy never comes back. Like, they're likable, they're not villains, because they're handsome and pretty.
And they soon arrive at the high-tech headquarters of the Diamond Corporation, built into the side of a mountain next to a waterfall. Now, I have to tee you up for this, fill you in on some things, Xander, because this is the second important corporation in the Dark Universe script.
Yes.
Because in the Wolfman script, there was like a military, like, R&D company called the Frankenstein Corporation, and they're like,
what the fuck?
Not the big bad, but they're important.
Okay.
I wonder, you said this was written in May and the other one was written in February. Maybe they decided, Frankenstein Corp is a dumb name. Let's call it Diamond Corp. And that'll tie into the end of this movie, which you're aware of at this point. Maybe they were renaming it as it went along, and because Frankenstein Corp is a really stupid name. I don't know.
I have a theory, but I'm going to save that till the end. Because there's kind of a Frankenstein reference in this script.
Yes, there is. A pretty big one.
Yeah. And okay, so but yeah, the Diamond Corporation, what happened to creative corporation names like InGen?
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm sorry.
It's not named after the villain's last name, which is like every fictional corporation ever, and not really the case in real life.
I've been on a Jurassic Park kick, even reading like Jurassic Park scripts. So I've had InGen in the back of my head for like weeks now.
We got Dodge in here. See, nobody cares.
Nobody cared when he came back either. So
that's true. It wasn't really him because the real guy was like in prison or something.
Yes, very much so.
I'm sorry for your financial problems, Dennis, but they are your problems.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. Their pilot has some initial trouble with his security card, which I only mentioned because it's semi-important. But when they get inside, they meet all-terrain search and rescue expert Connor Smith, and who was being inoculated with like a million fucking different drugs. They inject him a comical number of times.
Is that the Australian guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got just a thought on that where it's like, I don't know. I'm reading the script. Is he going to be a protagonist? But then wait a minute. I read the description. He's 31, Australian with a cocky, self-centered vibe. No mention of his good looks whatsoever. That's how you know he is in fact not one of the leads. He's not one of the protagonists here.
He is Kano. That's who he is.
Exactly.
But we get former U.S. Marine salvage guy Levi Bliss, who we find out he's black, but like way later on in the script in kind of a funny way. And,
they spent so much time clarifying people's beauty and not once on their actual like appearance of their skin.
And last but not least, Diamond CEO Alec Turner, who with a name like that, you just know.
You just know.
Gotta love Alec Turner, CEO.
And he's British, you know.
All good villains are British.
Yeah, that's not a spoiler, guys. But he's the one who summoned them all here. And so Turner explains that the black substance in the video, which they call the Preto virus, because Preto is Portuguese for black. I'm like, real creative there, guys.
I want to point out it took them less than 20 pages for someone to yell, "In English, please!"
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's stupid because it's just him saying what a virus does. Everybody knows
I
that.
read that. I'm like, I know what that is.
Yeah, you read the first thing before "In English" is yelled, and you're like, I get that. That's normal.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense.
But
Aren't
basically,
all these
it's
people like scientists?
no, not
Well,
that
okay,
guy.
no, that's true, that's
It's
fair.
the marine salvage guy. But even he should. But all he says is like, oh yeah, because it can exist outside of living being, we could maybe program it to like target certain things, which would make it a cure for cancer. Bitch, you need to have only seen the first 2 minutes of I Am Legend to understand that concept.
100%.
True.
But so the footage was sent in from their research base in the Black Lagoon, which isn't actually in the Black Lagoon when we get there, but I'm not going to harp on that. But one of many in the rainforest. But the stream was interrupted before any more information could be sent because Twitch went down, and all contact with the base was lost.
PlayStation Network got hacked again.
And so I'm just going to plow through the exposition here. Turner introduces Dr. I'm pronouncing it Juki Abala because I'm not calling him Juicy.
Oh, that's what I read it as the whole
I
script. I
called him
so
Juicy.
bad.
The whole script, I called that man a big, juicy man. He's juicy. All right.
But he's a trauma surgeon and an Amazonian native who explains that it couldn't have been a native attack as they considered the lagoon sacred and never go there. And Turner wants them to go to the base and find out what happened and also retrieve any samples of the virus and determine where it came from before a storm comes in and changes the landscape of the area, and it will be Jack's job to get them out of there once the storm hits. Yeah, environmental engineer, guys.
Okay. I want to pump the brakes right here. So the issue this company is facing is that the transmission is lost because of some unknown reason that's clearly wiped out the team that was there. To retrieve the data, they send a scientist with no military training, a British guy who can't stop throwing up, and handsome Jack Swift, whose only job is to monitor the weather? I'm sorry, you're sending SEAL Team 6 through 100. You're sending 95 SEAL teams. These fucking 3 useless people, I want to collect samples. Yeah, more importantly, you want to survive. You want to know what the hell's going on down there. So I was blown away when they revealed what they're all there for to do.
Well, the thing is,
sure.
I'm okay with them. I don't know why they're sending the geophysicist, but I understand why they would send her in because she knows the subject.
Yeah.
At least if you're going to send these people to do whatever their job is to do, like they all have 3 separate tasks. I don't even know what the British guy does. Then you may as well send like 20 dudes with guns and AKs, and like vests, 20 soldiers or mercenaries. At least get a team of people to protect you.
Yeah, I mean, Frankenstein Corporation at least had like security staff.
Well, okay, I'm not really familiar with like the Amazon. Is that a thing that can actually happen? Like it rains so hard the whole freaking geography changes and stuff?
I would I don't know for sure. I wouldn't count it out, but that also doesn't happen in this script.
It doesn't happen in the
That's
script.
right.
And then B, the other thing I want to point out is that like there really isn't like why would you put like the base from the abyss in this fucking Amazonian lagoon? Like the amount of money, infrastructure, time, resources that you have to like dedicate to do that for an Amazon rainforest that like notoriously is like very, very, very chaotic and jungle-esque. It's like the most like people say Amazon rainforest to refer to like the most chaotic jungle ever, like just in like passing.
Green
So
hell.
it's not really a good idea to put this base here anyway, in the middle of the water.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe they got funding from James Cameron. That guy's obsessed with the water.
He took his billions and built a base.
I mean, I have long assumed that he's basically just like the villain from The Spy Who Loved Me, but like more benevolent.
Yeah. Well, I had the same problem. Where the fuck did he get his money and resources to do that?
He's just that rich. Terminator 2, which I have to go on. I always love bringing this up whenever we talk about Terminator 2. He basically got a blank check for that movie and was semi-responsible for bankrupting the studio that funded it. Okay, so to get back, we got more exposition. Turner also shows them satellite images of a dead body 6 kilometers north of a base. There's like they can't see the base because the canopy covers it, but this body just happens to be in the open. And it's a woman with a burned face identified as one of the base's crew members. And he goes, listen, I understand if you don't want to do this, but I'm going to give you a chance to walk. But they all agree to go ahead with the mission. As they load up the riverboat for the expedition, because for some reason they have helicopters, but they're taking the boat.
Oh, yeah.
Jack figures out that something is wrong and gets Turner to admit that he thinks they may have lost contact due to internal sabotage, which is why the team mostly consists of outsiders. And Turner's like, hey, man, I don't know, really. I'm just being cautious, blah, blah, blah. And so the boat is prepared, and we meet the boat crew, whom I don't really need to name them because they don't do anything.
Yeah, they didn't do anything. Can I just, say one thing about the headquarters scene that really bothered me? Okay, think about this just from, a budget and producer standpoint. There's no fucking reason for this huge-ass, elaborate headquarters in the middle of a cliffside scene. The scene itself, I get it. No reason for that setting. You could have just had them set up in, a tent or, some small base thing. No reason for this whole headquarters. We never go back to it, ever. It's just a complete waste, and it would probably just been this horrible-looking CGI building. Awful.
Or, they could have put them in an office building in one of the many cities Brazil has.
Exactly.
Well,
there is absolutely zero reason to have this.
That's a good point, too, because it's not like they ever go back here. Or if they do, it's for, a passing moment, maybe.
No,
but, they spend the bulk of their time in the fucking...
Yeah,
they spend the bulk of their time in that sunken place, which is more interesting anyway.
Come back here for the sequel, I guess.
No fan of Creature in the Black Lagoon cares about generic HQ laboratory building number 52.
That is true. But the boat crew is Lung, which I'm probably horribly mispronouncing, Gebhardt, who is the navigator because he does some shit with the GPS for one scene, Gabriel, who is Gabriel, and Nico, who is the boat captain, and they for some reason have to specify that he's Iranian.
I don't even remember those guys.
Yeah. No, they do nothing. They are literally just here for, hey, my GPS is pinging that scene, and cannon fodder.
Yeah, they're just to raise the kill count.
And so the crew, they speculate it's why anyone sabotaged the base. Like, it could be a rival company. It could be the pharmaceutical companies going this cancer cure could put us out of business, blah 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 blah, or something. And so Eve speaks to Juki, who talks about how he left his tribe to go to college, and now he's not considered one of them. But he's his first time coming back because the Diamond Corporation came to him for the job, and he's an interesting character. I kind of like him.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of the creatures from
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, there's a couple of the creatures from the Black Lagoon scripts that have a native Amazonian character.
He's definitely the most interesting of the side characters.
Yeah.
I was surprised that a lot of these characters, or at least a decent chunk of them, weren't actually Brazilian. All of them were imported from basically America. There's one Australian guy. There's a British guy. I don't know. Wouldn't you want people from the area who work for this company? Because how else would you have built that fucking thing if you didn't employ people from the area? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's the usual trope where you got the white people coming into some place and scavenging the lands for everything it's worth. The themes of destroying nature and taking from nature.
We'll get to what the movie does that every other movie does too at the end though. But I want to point out too, in tandem with that, the only native Amazonian people you see here are the tribe, and they're all tribalistic, and they go and they have like loincloths and shit. Like people from Brazil are just people from Brazil. Like I married one. They're not all tribes and shit.
Deep in the Amazon, there are tribes, but there's no like regular Brazilians in here, except for the helicopter pilot.
Yeah, who I'm sure lasts a very long time in this script. All right, when does he die?
No, the helicopter pilot from the beginning, he just is gone after his keycard doesn't work. He's only he's only there to establish that Eve knows like a smattering of Portuguese.
Which matters once ever and then never again.
But okay, and so he also mentions that because they're hearing drums from the jungle, and he's saying, "Oh, it's a friendly welcome from the local tribe," and they can hear us, and those drums are at least 3 miles off into the jungle, and then we get a scene where
drums.
We get a couple of these weird like nature scenes. So they watch an albino alligator eat two Jesus lizards. I swear to God, that's an actual thing. I looked it up.
Oh no, it is. Yeah, no, it exists. They're really cool.
They run on top of water because they have big webbed feet.
I just love how all these nature scenes that they have in this part of the script. It's just like I know in my head because like I think the Jesus lizards get eaten and stuff. So I know knowing animal things. These are all just CGI animals that we're just getting. So I'm like, okay, wow, love it.
Also,
I have a note.
I don't think you get alligators in the Amazon. I think you only get crocodiles.
Well, I have a note that this does for Creature what Kong Skull Island did for King Kong. Like that's what the movie is gonna become for most of it.
Yeah, and this isn't the first Creature script to do that. The mid-2000s ones, the idea that, like, the Black Lagoon is a special place and there's something there that, like, changes everything, that comes from the mid-2000s stuff. There's also a very specific character death that's very similar to one from that. But we'll get there when we get there.
To be honest, I just thought that this was taking notes from the original movie, because in the original movie there's just that scene where they show off a bunch of Amazonian, animals from the Amazon. So I was like, oh, this is just them doing that stuff? Yeah,
and then the second movie has the scene at the beginning, like 5 minutes in, if that, where the creature yeets out of the water and grabs a bird.
Oh yeah.
But as they're talking about this, a native dart slams into the side of the boat next to Eve's head. And everybody on Smith and everyone's like, get the guns. But then Juki's like, no, wait. These guys who have just shown up on canoes, they missed on purpose. And they say, we just want us to get their permission to go further upriver. And he says, yeah, usually, it's like, how do you do that? And he like reaches into his pants and pulls out like a wad of money. He's like, yeah, we fucking bribe them.
U.S. currency.
I'm glad that this one fucking random guy on the boat happened to know their ritual of asking permission to go through. Because if that guy wasn't there, that's an attack. They're going to war.
I mean, that's why you hire an Amazonian native.
Good job. Like this boat should be full of them, is what I'm saying.
But however, they want the payment taken directly to their chief, and say that Juki, Eve, Simon, and Smith must come along to do so. And the natives take the group to a village where Juki is giving the payment to the chief, who is wearing fake gold chains and has 2 guards who are little kids with pistols, and I have no fucking idea what's going on here.
The chief is also, he walks in listening to an iPod. He's jamming out on iTunes, man. I'm just like,
God damn!
I think
I want an iPod that could keep
there.
the charge in the middle of the jungle.
But wait, what do you plug in? No, not important. It is important, but the other thing about that is like the whole visual style of the tall one is just there so that they can make a comment of like, what is he, the Wu-Tang Clan?
Oh, God.
It's just there for the one-off joke that they never bring up again. That's the only reason.
I guess we established he ain't nothing to fuck with.
I mean, honestly, I'm honestly just not surprised that Apple made a Apple store out in the Amazon forest.
And they still have like a sad, like minimum wage dude working there who just barely knows enough about Apple products to give you a sale.
He has to commute through the Amazon jungle.
Yes. He's got like the polo and like the normal khakis attire.
Yeah,
he's got to swing on vines like Tarzan to get to work.
the store has a line of natives who just go there to charge their iPods for the day.
Of course, and they're all in like stereotypical native gear. They all got loincloths and
Yeah,
big hats and shit.
All right, and so while they're there, Eve notices there's a sick toddler which has like bot flies like festering in the wound, and Juki's just like, he'll be fine. This happens all the time because like, no, it's infected. And even though the kids are pointing guns at her, she's like talking in English to this one, going like, here, take these antibiotics, and somehow gets the idea to her how to use them. And the mother is like, she's so thankful. She warns her about the Kurupira. And as they return to the boat and set off again, Juki explains it's a monster that lives in the jungle. And originally it was a bullshit story that was created to keep outsiders away. And I'm like, yeah, that worked real well, guys.
Well,
love how that name never comes up again, and love how this is the scene that I said we don't need this because we've already seen plenty of times that she's a kind person who can deal with danger.
It's a pointless scene. I was gonna say this is the most pointless scene, more pointless than the handsome neighbor.
It's the way that it's written assumes that you, the audience, don't know that there is a creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, it's still played off like there's a mystery, like, oh, and then you're going to get into it, but like, oh, did somebody betray them? Did somebody blow up the station? Obviously not. It's creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, I knew that the whole time.
I just want to say...
It's just taking notes from the original movie. It's not even, like, doing anything new. It's the old researchers that got attacked.
I just want to say, the John Carpenter version of this, in that script, creature's hand pops out of the water and beheads a dude in, like, the first 5 pages.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Dude, we'll get it there, but like, I actually have the note that for the first 34 pages, no creature, except, and then finally they give you like an eyeball or like a silhouette, and then they don't actually do anything.
I ain't even counting the eyeball.
Well, then I have another note that we can get to now. We don't actually see the fucking thing until 70 pages in. And if runtime is like a minute per page, that's almost the entire runtime of the original movie before you see the creature. Like, that to me is a problem.
It's a huge problem.
I think it would be less of a problem if you cut some of these superfluous scenes and some of these superfluous characters. You'd get the creature in it faster. You'd get to the hints faster.
Maybe they added that weird dream sequence to imply a creature because they know they have no fucking creature for the entire first act. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the original movie, you didn't have to imply it in the first act. Like, that, everything's set up really quickly. And clearly, I'm reading this script, I'm like, this is taken beat for beat. Like, it's using the original movie as just a skeleton, beat for beat. And then it uses revenge, not to go forward quickly. But.
Now, we've been shitting on it. I think there are a few things that this movie does well, quote, quote, in adapting it for a new movie. Like, with some of, like, the character decisions and stuff. Because that old movie is like the main character, Julie. What the hell's her name?
In this one?
The main character of the classic movie.
Kay.
Kay, right? Kay from the classic movie. She's like a really interesting fleshed out character, and then everyone else like around her is just like this stock one note thing. At least they have more going on in this one.
Well, I mean,
I disagree with that, but
I do too.
This isn't about the original.
Because
film.
I mean, at least in the original movie, you have the ethical debate going on between the characters.
Hey, I love that original movie too. I'm not like you
have Lucas,
you have
Captain Lucas, who's awesome.
Oh, Captain Lucas is amazing, but I actually like the main, the as you guys call it, the Clark Gable of that movie. I actually really like him. I think he's an interesting character, legitimately. But that's for another time.
It's one of the better Universal monster romances, I will say. I think it stacks up better against, say, classic Mummy, classic, maybe not Dracula. Dracula's OG, but yeah.
I do think it's funny that they do say, "Oh, we've only been together for 6 weeks," and they're already engaged.
Girl's like, "I want the ring on the finger right now. Let's chop."
But, I mean, she also was thinking. She also at one point is like seriously considering, like, "Do I owe my boss?" But okay, well, let's get back into this one. But okay, so the boat soon stops for the night, and Eve dives into the river to collect samples because we gotta get that swimming scene in here. And this starts something this script does, where it's treating diving into the river like they're diving into the ocean. There's like coral reefs and shit, and I'm like, what?
Oh yeah,
I never thought about that. I never thought about it.
I didn't think about it until my reread, if I'm being honest. But the boat, but yeah, that's what it turns out. The creature is nearby. It's cloaked in natural camouflage like a chameleon. So basically, we're getting the first glimpses of Predator here, and it's watching Eve.
I will also point out that, like, in tandem with like how it's portraying this like diving thing, and this is a lot of movies' problems too, but like people think about like the Amazonian River as like this like paradisal place, like that's like magical and pure. That water's dirty and stanky and full of shit, like full of creatures, not Black Lagoon creatures, but like full of random little things you don't want on you. You don't want to just like throw on a bathing suit that's super hot and just jump in there. Like that's not really advised.
It is. Even in the original movie, they're like, "What the fuck are you doing, woman?"
Well, back then, that was like, they had just first discovered the Amazon, you know, all that was kind of like still new. So that one, it's like fine, but also, you know, I do find it funny that like she just kind of jumps in the original, when in this script it's like, oh, the Amazon is extremely fucking dangerous, like everything's specifically designed to kill you. And then you think back to the original movie and she just dives in, I'm like, damn, shit balls. But in this one, it's more warranted that it's like they talked about the pollution and everything. So yeah, the river should just be like completely disgusting. I don't know what's going on.
Well, they never get into like they talk about the Black Lagoon, quote quote, and how it has like this weird property where it moves sometimes. I wish they went further into that, but they never like talk about like, oh, the Black Lagoon does what it does because this, or if you go in the water, this will happen. They never really go into it.
The implication is that the virus does it.
Sure, yeah.
But
but
I'm gonna say it to you right now, folks. They spend next to no time in the lagoon itself in this script.
Yeah,
It's 2 scenes.
so they weren't.
yeah,
They're not at the Black Lagoon yet, right? Like it's not. Okay, I was like, what the hell?
I mean, the creature leaves the lagoon in the original movie too, because he goes downstream and is like, "Hey guys, there's 2 dudes in the tent."
Yeah.
Well, you remember the title of both movies is Creature from. That's like Jake from Rhode Island. Like I'm not always in Rhode Island. I'm not even in Rhode Island now, but like that's where I was from. So that's where it came from.
Okay, yeah, but but what if someone owned the Black Lagoon? What was the character in your book? It was
Black's Lagoon.
Black's Lagoon. Black's Lagoon, right? Yeah. But does the creature own the lagoon? That's what I want to know today.
Yeah. But then it continues to watch, and we get a zoomed in shot of it where its camouflage drops to reveal a single eye as Eve is like catching fish and stuff around the reef that shouldn't be there.
I don't know when we want to start talking about the creature's abilities, but I hate the camouflage because I read it and I was like, I immediately knew that the only reason why it has camo is so that it could have more abilities for when it fights the other monsters in the future sequels when they meet up.
I don't mind the abilities.
Avengers.
You know, you're kind of right. I mean, like, they got to give them all bigger superpowers and stuff because it's a big blockbuster version of these characters.
Because, see, I'm reading that, and I mean, if you know me, if you listen to my stuff, I'm pretty much a purist when it comes to monsters. I like to stick pretty with it because I think you don't need anything more than that. So I read that, and I was like, okay, so you're giving him Invisible Man's powers? All right. And then I was like, why would you do that? And then I thought to myself, I was like, okay, you're a producer, you're a studio head. How do we make these monsters team up to make it all interesting and stuff? And you look at Creature from the Black Lagoon and you think, oh, he's just big monster that goes blah, 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 and swims. So, of course, they have to give him, like... We'll get into the other stuff, but of course we have to give him camo. Like, we gotta...
Well, all right, let me hit you back with the not that I entirely disagree, because you do make some good points there. I'm not as much of a purist, and actually, in fact, a lot of the Universal Monster movies changed a lot from what source material they had, so I'm kind of glad that changes can be made. But when you're making a change, you got to ask yourself, like, what does this change accomplish? Like, what does it actually, like, do? And sometimes change for the sake of change is a good thing. But if you make a change and it strays so far from what the original is, what are you even doing anymore? Like, for example, like, why even have it so that the skin retreats? In the script, they're like, oh, it's because it's actually a beautiful thing.
Okay. We're getting ahead of ourselves
You're jumping ahead too far. You're jumping
Look,
ahead.
all right,
it's just the camouflage right now.
We're talking.
Okay,
all right. We'll talk about the camouflage. I'll tell you this: when I first read the description of it saying it camouflaged in with the fish, I took that like interpretively, like, oh, it's just like evading and going away. But then it made reference again. I was like, oh, it's literally camouflaging. Like it's actually like a chameleon.
Yeah, I don't mind it, but I will say, Xander, you will probably like that John Carpenter version because it does give him some extra stuff, but it's all like fish stuff.
I don't mind if it's fish related. That's fine. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I looked at those abilities and all I could see was Studio Head going, yeah.
All right, well, let's keep up. I'm in the middle of a friggin' paragraph here. But
Sorry.
she gets startled by a worm that shoots out of the reef, presumably in 3D, and she loses her because she's still wearing the kid's Casio watch from when she was a child, and it slips from her wrist, and she can't get it for some reason, and so Jack has to appear and retrieve it for her, and they swim away as the creature camouflages itself again. And I will say, I was very tired of typing camouflage in my notes by the end of this thing. But then she says...
Didn't do camo?
Yeah, but then she says, they return to the boat, and Eve thanks Jack, saying the watch was her brother's, who died when he was 7, and that is the last reference we get to her childhood in this thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no. There's mentions of her scars a little bit. By the way, Umami from Mario 64. Sorry. Yeah, the watch, I got confused because when I read that, I was like, bitch, that's a kid's Casio watch. It was never gonna survive anyway. What were you doing wearing it in the first place? But then later she says it was broken. It doesn't even tell time. But that confused me because I swear I remember in the first act, she looked at her Casio kid's watch to note the time.
Yeah, I believe that was like page 2 she did that.
Yeah, in page 2, she looks at her watch and it says she looks at a Casio watch. It's a kid's watch. So I'm just like, what?
I never caught that.
And
Wow.
if it's such a sentimental thing for her, why is she taking it into the water anyway?
Exactly.
That's a great point. First of all, bro. You guys are pointing out some serious shit with the watch. I was gonna say I kind of like the reincorporation at the end of the movie. But you guys are pointing out some serious like logic problems.
No,
with,
I actually really liked the reincorporation at the end because I think the whole abuse thing is supposed to be informing why she is so protective of the creature by the end, but we can talk about that later. Okay, so Jack changes the conversation to her work, and Eve explains her research into the Gaia theory, that all life on Earth acts like a single organism adapting to keep the planet habitable. And so then he starts going off on multiverse theory as like another like...
The multiverse is real.
I know science fiction-y stuff about parallel universes, and I think that's Pinkner being self-referential because that's kind of what... That's basically what Fringe was about.
Well,
okay.
I would also like to point out that like... I think we all agree that stupid line of dialogue doesn't add anything, isn't even true, get it out of there. But I will point out that this was written 10 years ago almost, before every movie started doing the multiverse thing. So now it's all played out.
I was just about to say.
So maybe at the time he's like, ooh,
the multiverse. Yeah.
This is like a fresh creative idea. What if there was a multiverse? At the time, fair.
So Universal, hear me out.
It's several months before, I believe the first multiverse reference in the MCU is Doctor Strange, and this is months before that came out.
Yeah. Right, exactly. You're right. You're dead right about the timeline, yeah.
If I was a gambling man, if the Dark Universe succeeded, I'm 100% willing to bet that they would have reincorporated the Van Helsing universe back in, made the 1940s original universe its own thing using deep fakes of all the original actors, and probably would have also brought back Benicio del Toro for Wolfman.
So I'll tell you this, they don't need a multiverse to do that. because most of those remakes and adaptations are based on different monsters. There's a lot of Draculas you got to consolidate down, but like other than that, there's really only been a Mummy remake except for the new one, and that's in continuity anyway. Look,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go too far into it, but like you could do it.
I just wanted to make a funny joke.
Yeah, but okay, so but yeah, he's doing this flirting thing, and the charm is working again because I'm Captain Jack Swift, baby. But he gets interrupted when these weird large bats start dive bombing the boat, and they flee inside. One makes in with them. Smith beats it to death with a fishing spear, so harpoon gun solved that problem.
I thought about the same thing.
Then Jack points out that it's not a normal bat because bats don't make a sound like that.
They never get into what it is. Just like like Peter Jackson's remake of King Kong, where it's like this is a freaky weird thing. Next scene.
Well, what
Hey,
it
man.
is that
Peter Jackson's King Kong is way better than this.
yeah, Peter Jackson and King Kong is great. But what it is that this is a Dark Universe movie, so we have to have a bunch of action set pieces and
Of course.
we have to have fodder.
Of course,
But-
we need explosions and monsters that jump out at you.
And also, this is something the Black Lagoon does. Blah blah blah. blah. Mm-hmm. But they're not even there yet.
Did we pass the scene where she tells him to stop smoking?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, that was on the
Okay.
helicopter. He goes, the irony.
The irony. So, if they're on the way to find the cure for cancer, couldn't he keep smoking? Couldn't everyone? So why did she say like no? We have to go stop cancer or something.
She says it again wait. I have a point. She says it to that guy again, and then he pitches a cigarette into the water, and then gets out a new one as soon as she's gone. I think that's a reference to the original movie where Kate pitches her cigarette into the lagoon.
Oh, you're probably right.
That's a
You're
good
probably
point,
right.
Yeah,
That's the
'cause
only reason it's in the movie.
She pitches it into the lagoon, and then the camera like booms down into the creature who's looking up.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch!
It's time for me to start the entire problem with the movie now.
Honestly, the original movie, I bet that was the whole reason why he started attacking them. Had nothing. If she just hadn't fucking littered.
Look, thematically, yes.
They had already attacked it by the time that happened.
You know what? I just want to watch the first creature now. That's such a great. It holds up. It's a great movie.
It holds. We know it's great. We have to keep moving.
Wait. I just gotta tell you, Jake. Listen, I'm just saying, lung cancer from secondhand smoke is no joke. All right, if he wants to deal with the medical insurance bills to get himself cured, that's fine. But don't make her have to deal with it too. All right.
Look, they're in the Amazon. They're about to go get the literal cure for cancer. They're
my
right
God.
there. All right.
Okay,
Anyway,
okay,
continue, Bruce.
okay.
Bruce, continue.
I don't want to piss off Bruce.
Before long, Gebhardt, in the only scene where he does anything, his GPS tracker has picked up the signal from the base, and they're like, "But it's fucked up. You're reading it wrong because the base isn't here." And then it's because it's nowhere in sight. And then Levi figures it out. Because the base was built on pontoons and it floats on the water. They must have broken, allowing the base to sink beneath the water. And so Levi,
What's a pontoon? I'm really
it's
sorry.
like it's like a thing that's filled with air that allows it to float. Like
So it's just this, giant for like barges and stuff, right? It's like
yeah,
this
you know
giant-
how like
Okay.
helicopters land on the water. Those are pontoons. that
Oh,
it
okay,
floats on.
okay,
Yes.
got it. I wanted to make sure that I was thinking the right thing in my head.
It's
Sorry.
also
Alright, continue.
it's also a kind of bridge you make from boats.
Oh, okay, interesting.
That's how the Persians crossed from Asia into Europe.
No way.
The more you know. Okay, so they put it. Levi and Smith, who they're like, we're in charge of this because we're the search and rescue guys. They lead a diving team to look for the base, consisting of Jack, Eve, Juki, and Simon. Why are you bringing Simon?
Why are you bringing all these people? Send in a military unit. I'm still on that.
Why is anyone but Jack going?
Why is Jack going?
I mean, Jack could fix this all single-handedly.
Oh, it's gonna
Exactly,
rain.
that's
Good
what
job,
he's-
Jack.
But and so they find it resting on the side of a reef, 60 feet down. I don't know if the Amazon's pretty deep and wide, so I could see this just without. And so they find it. Three of the four pontoons are damaged. They enter the base through a hole in the bottom, and they split up to cover ground more quickly.
Oh my god, they split up in a horror movie.
But they
come
don't
on.
split up by themselves. They split up in pairs, so they're fine.
That
Yeah.
counts. That super counts.
But so they find the place empty. The scientists seem to have fled, and Juki and Levi, they go off they're in the engine rooms. They're like, haha, the two colored people got split off by themselves.
That's a weird comment.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very weird comment. I also want to point out this is the Prometheus thing I mentioned earlier. I would not be so quick to remove all of my life-saving gear while standing in the desolated leaning tower of Pisa base, completely submerged underwater.
Yeah, bro puts his fucking oxygen tank down into a thing and leaves, and I go, what are you doing?
What are you doing? You don't know what's gonna happen down there. This is all like unplanned. You didn't even think it was here because it was so like under the water. It's like 60 feet under.
But so Simon and Smith soon enter the kitchen, and they realize that it can't have been that long ago because there's a meal sitting in the microwave. And then they get jump scared by Juki and Levi, who have already circled back around. So this place isn't that big.
Yeah. Well, just as a small note, it wasn't that they couldn't have been dead for very long. It was that they determined that the place wasn't empty. Like, obviously some people were staying here because someone was making food when this whole thing went down.
And that it went down very suddenly because the food was left there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So okay. Pink Nerd's been reading about the Mary Celeste. Yeah, and then, but the two guys have circled back around. So there's a jump scare, and then Smith opens a door, and a body falls out. Another jump scare. It falls, and so the dead body comes out of the closet.
Why was he hiding in the closet?
Ooh. Meanwhile, Jack and Eve, who are being watched by the creature from outside, they find the base's laboratory, where the bodies of strange mutated boar creatures are being kept in glass tanks.
I want to point out too that I don't know if the line has been said. I think it was said early on, where one of them goes, "Hey, I think I found a backup generator that's been submerged underwater in the Amazon rainforest after a giant sea monster destroyed the entire base, all 8,000 square feet of it." So, like, I don't know, man. I mean, come on.
Hold on to your butts.
It's like saying, hey, I think I found a totaled car in this junkyard with no engine. Let's drive out of here. Like, that's what you're saying.
Jake, you really shouldn't be talking about rundown trucks in the middle of nowhere still working.
What do you mean? I didn't put that in my book.
Given a certain movie that you said was really good. Anyways, Bruce, continue.
It took them a lot of work to get that working. This guy flipped a switch.
Bruce, please continue.
Yes, we need to continue. We did 2 whole fucking episodes about that movie. Enough.
Truck wasn't underwater, freaking Xander.
But it's only been underwater for like a few days or like a couple weeks.
A few days?
No more.
Okay.
Further into they hear some noise. They go further into the lab where a video file for some reason is in the middle of playing about the Praeto virus, and Eve begins copying the data from the computer onto a flash drive. That's got to be one damn big flash drive.
I know, Jesus.
While Jack finds a rack of test tubes filled with the black substance. And back in the kitchen, Levi's like, hey, this dead guy, who, by the way, is wearing a Diamond Corporation uniform, has been dead for about 4 days, and he was hiding from something. And he also prized a dead man's long-range radio from his hands before the base starts to buckle and collapse under the water pressure.
I do have legitimate comments about this scene. First off, I actually really like the set piece of this, like the damaged floating research thing that's underwater and they have to go under. That is so fucking cool. HQ thing, stupid as fuck. Completely scrap that. Put all your money into this and make a practical set. This would look so fucking awesome, and amazing set piece. Love it. Think it's really cool.
This would probably be like, aside from like the water stuff, would probably be a really cheap set because it's just hallways.
Yeah, no, and it can work. I mean, and you can have your stupid blue screens to have the water, but it would look cool. I honestly, this is a really cool set piece. As a nitpick, I really, as someone who does a lot of file management and stuff, I honestly have never understood how someone can just put a fucking flash drive in and then someone like, all right, we're getting all the data. Like, that's not how it works, buddy. I don't think it's that easy. You can't do it that quick. But that's all I'll say for now. I'll let you keep going, Bruce, because I do have more comments, but I don't want to go ahead of you.
But so, back in the lab, Eve is retrieving the test tubes when the windows break and the water begins to flood in. And Jack gets caught under a shelf like he's Ash in the first Evil Dead. Because there's literally 2 scenes in that movie of him getting stuck under a tiny shelf. Eve goes to grab the flash drive when a massive 12-foot crocodile apparently comes in through the hole, lunges just as the others enter the lab. It attacks Juki, and then Simon, so this guy finally has a use. He nails it in the tail with a spear gun, and it swims away, so the harpoon solved the second problem. And it swims past the camouflaged creature that's still watching from outside. And then Smith and Levi, they free Jack from under the shelf, and that's when a second crocodile lunges at Eve, making her lose. She loses 1 test tube. It's not clear how she loses all of them. And then it swallows the flash drive, and so Eve is like, I watch Animal Planet, as she flips it over on its back, paralyzes it, and then reaches into its mouth to get the flash drive.
Go on.
In the script, what happens is they see all the test tubes, like, okay, let's gather them up. And for some reason, as they're gathering them up while the thing is buckling, not one of them managed to grab one and store it away for safekeeping. You want to talk pedantic logic, that's one thing that pissed me off. But once the water goes in, all of the test tubes get out, and she just manages to grab one, but then also loses it. So yeah.
I really like the constant shifting of the goalposts of like, we really need to find data. Ooh, I found literal bytes of data. I'll put it on the flash drive. Ooh, we don't need that. We have the vials. And then later on, oh, we don't need the vials. We have thing I won't mention yet. Like, you keep shifting like what you actually do need. So none of this is going to be important at all.
So they needed the vial and the flash drive, because the flash drive had all the data and research, and the vial actually had, well, the stuff. So both were needed. I fucking hate that they do the same thing where it's like, oh, you go through all this stuff to get it. There's all the tension of if the flash drive is going to make, like, actually all the data is going to come. It does complete, and then you lose it anyway. There's just, it just becomes a pointless set thing that has nothing. I hate when they do that. But even worse, you're telling me you have a movie called Creature from the Black Lagoon. You have an amazing set piece of an underwater thing. You have a creature, but no, let's do alligator.
Well, yeah.
Why?
You've already committed too. You've already committed to like all these crazy weird fantasy monster versions of the Amazon monsters, right? You've already committed to like going full balls out. You may as well like put like you're gonna put like normal crocodiles, which are very easily defeated as mentioned in the script.
I'm just really baffled that every single scene that has, because I think this is the last one before the creature finally starts doing stuff. Every single scene that has some random Amazonian animal attack could have been the creature. Why? I don't understand how you as a scriptwriter get Creature from the Black Lagoon and go, nah, I'm doing crocodiles.
Nah, I would do my own thing.
I'm gonna do my own thing. I don't give a fuck.
Well, that is a fair point. But they return to the surface, finding the boat to be eerily quiet, and they find that the boat crew, Gebhardt, Lung, Gabriel, and Nico, they're all dead. Their faces burned like the woman on the satellite footage. And what's more, the data on the flash drive is irretrievable thanks to the water damage. So thank you for your crocodile skills coming in handy there, Eve.
I'll say this. If it weren't irreversibly damaged due to water damage, I would have been so mad. But I'm glad they stuck to what actually would have happened if it went into a crocodile's mouth, for fuck's sake.
I'm actually just honestly, again, thinking about this from everything, it's like, okay, fine. You want to have your stupid crocodiles. Then cut away from this, make the crocodile scene a cliffhanger, whether or not they survived, and then cut back to the boat. You don't even have to show the creature. You can just do like a POV thing where it's like out of sight, but like all the crew gets killed and have them like get sprayed with acid and we see them die. Instead, no, we just get the whole like, what happened to the crew kind of thing. And it's a waste. It's a waste of cool kills. I mean, you could have had, it's a monster horror movie. What are we doing?
They added more monsters who were just regular animals.
Yep.
But okay, so on top of that, the boat's radio has been expertly sabotaged. And Jack's like, yeah, I can fix this, but until then, they're cut off from the outside world. And this is when they start debating for like a page. Maybe we should stay or we should go, but Eve is like, no, we're too close.
We're too close. I grabbed literally none of those vials of black goo. Couldn't hold one to save my life. And then I transferred them all to a waterlogged flash drive. We're so close.
It's got to be somewhere here. I know it.
I directly caused all the problems with my own movie.
Listen, we're 60 pages in. If we just hold out another 20, the creature will come up. We gotta hold out, guys.
Shut up, you're right.
Yes, you're right. And then they're like, oh, wait, this radio we pulled off the corpse. It's the kind of radio where you can send some kind of friggin' signal out in case of avalanches. So maybe we can find the rest of the crew that way, and maybe they'll have our answers. But so later we get a suspense scene. The camouflaged creature has snuck aboard the boat and seems to be heading for Eve's stateroom when Jack hears her scream, finds her looking sexy in a towel, pointing at a huge scorpion. And so off screen, Jack smacks its ass with a towel from the sounds of it and then flushes it down the toilet while the creature lurks in the hall.
So creature just wanted to peep on in? Is that...
Well, you gotta understand, Xander, if you write a scene and you're like, this scene needs something, I know. End it with,
while the creature stalks from the background and then runs away.
It's like most of the second act here.
Look, let's not dance around it. He just wanted to give her an excuse to put the main actress in a sexy towel.
Of course, because she's sexy.
They just wanted a shower scene.
Gotta get some sex appeal into this probably PG-13 movie.
Guys, how do you know the main character is sexy? That's just an assumption.
Hey,
No. Like I said, in this scene, the writer explicitly states she looks sexy in the towel. Because, we gotta know.
I can give this script a pass for that, because at least it doesn't have super wolf pheromones that make every woman on the planet horny.
You know what?
I don't care. I've written too many scripts to not get... I write scripts. I know how to... I'm just saying, I have experience writing scripts and it pisses me off as a filmmaker and a script
Bruce,
writer.
for a man interested in moving on to the next part, you sure do know how to dig up old fucking bullshit with the Wolfman script, all right? All right, you know it's going to set us off, at least me off.
What is it about Wolfman that just has us all have one thing that we got to keep reading
It's
off?
a terrible script, Xander.
No, I don't mean the script. I mean the character.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Says the Wolfman fan in the room.
Exactly.
The biggest Wolfman fan.
I gotta
in the room.
find ways to jump it in.
Okay, so then they but they have a little bonding moment where once again she's charmed by him, and then Levi appears, completely spoiling the moment, who doesn't seem to be interested in the fact that she's just wearing a towel and she's in his room, because like, oh, we found the signal. And it's the crew meets. It's like it's just static, but it's coming from 3 miles north in the jungle. And after some debate where it's like you should really stay behind, and it's like, no, fuck you, we're all coming.
I'm just gonna say that because like the reason why none of them want to stay behind is because like, well, the crew got killed. I don't want to run into whatever comes in. And not to go back to the shower scene, but I do like how what's her name again?
Eve.
I do like how Eve saw this entire massacre on the crew and then thought, now's a good time for a shower. I have seen Psycho, but I could survive.
That is weird.
That is another parallel to Alien Covenant, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I was thinking about Alien too.
They just barely escaped like the crocodiles, which were apparently a big threat. And like this like sinking, destroying fucking thing, and she's like, you know what? Time to relax, undress, really feel myself.
Ship is not safe, man. I'm just saying. Okay, anyways, moving on.
I mean, maybe she was feeling herself in another way. I don't know.
That's why the creature was peeping.
But so they all set out into the jungle. We get this whole thing about the calls of the howler monkeys, which isn't important enough for me to talk about. Like, oh, this is what their mating call sounds like. This is what it sounds like when they're warning of danger. Blah 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 blah. And so they continue. They find themselves surrounded by strangely colored mushrooms and vines. And Juki is like, we must be nearing the Black Lagoon. I thought it was just a legend, but people say it changes things. It must be true. So we're getting more lore.
I love things that are mentioned once and then never gone into.
just as a quick note, I mean, I know it's basic and stuff, but I did like the whole setup with the monkey howls and stuff. I thought that was an interesting kind of like setup.
It's
thing.
fine, but for the purposes of this show, I don't need to get that detailed.
Oh no, not for detail. I was just saying I liked it. That was all.
And the storm finally breaks.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change the landscape at all, but I'll let that be.
Well, I also want to point out that there are pretty convenient lightning strikes that only strike during the reveal of monsters about to lunge and kill someone. It happens more than once.
Yes. But they find the bodies of 3 scientists, all with burned faces. But the radio they have, it's not the one they're tracking. That's still half a mile away. And that's when, boom, lightning strike, the mutant boars show up, and all hell breaks loose. So at least this is a monster this time. But it's like, they're weird, they have multiple limbs, blah, blah, blah. But so Juki climbs up a tree to get away, only to get swarmed by poison tree frogs, which that is something that happens in one of the previous scripts, where a guy runs from the creature, gets killed by tree frogs.
Tree fox, man.
But and then Levi gets snatched away by a giant anaconda. Simon stumbles into Eve, and they both get attacked by a boar. And Simon fires off several shots because he's completely useless. He accidentally shoots her in the chest.
Oh yeah, I was like, what the?
And then he gets hit by a boar. I think the boar kills him. It's a very confusingly described moment. But the creature appears, drops its camouflage, and it's seen in full for the first time.
Yes, finally.
Yes, about time. 70 pages in.
We get a description. It's scaly. It has webbed hands and feet. Kelp-like tentacles on its torso and face. So I'm just picturing Davy Jones at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it has pulsing spots on its body that it uses to mesmerize the boar. And then spits acid on it and kills it. And needlessly enough, they put a line in there saying, "This one killed the people."
I never would have guessed. Thank you.
I will say I do like the fact that they don't shy away from having the creature murder people and say, "Oh, it was something else." I'll give it credit for that.
I like how when they're adapting it, they're like, "Ooh, what can we add to the creature?" And then they listen to like the Danny Phantom theme song. He can walk through walls, disappear, and fly. Much more unique than the other. He's like fucking throwing all these random fucking grab bag of powers at it.
Well, how else can you fight Dracula?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Xander is cooking.
I'm telling you. This was a studio head decision.
It's funny. I'm only laughing because that theoretical movie in which they all meet and fight with all these fucking super X-Men powers is like the dumbest. Like, I can't even imagine that.
You would eat it up. You would have fun with it at least.
At least it'd be something. At least they would have done it for once in 100 years.
I hate the mutant boars.
I'm fine. I'm fine with giving you like the Black Lagoon more stuff, but okay. But they're never relevant again after this scene, so what's the point?
Exactly. That's my problem.
Yeah, and so it then crouches over Eve, looking at her wound and her face. Because her shirt keeps popping open to reveal the wound.
Of course, why wouldn't it? The director is Michael Bay.
No, she's not underage.
I will say, this is me like kind of finally really enjoying myself. Once she meets the creature, I'm actually happy with the script. It took like half of the movie to get here, but we're finally here. The next like 15, 20 pages, kind of no notes. Just
yeah, really cool. Just really enjoyed all of it.
Really good stuff.
Okay, so the creature carries Eve to the shore of the Black Lagoon, puts its mouth over hers, vomits some goo into her mouth, dives into the water, and Eve eventually has to inhale. And the goo oxygenates her blood and allows her to survive the swim. Cool power for the creature to have.
Yep.
I'm fine with that one.
Yeah, the creature takes her to an underground grotto, so we're getting the cave from the original movie, kind of. Lays her on the ground, and I like this moment where it says she just fucking dies.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Shit.
Have the balls to do it.
And then we see that the creature covers her in the black liquid that we see it comes from like a seashell. And the Praedovirus revives her, and there's like a moment where she kind of comes to, and there's something like sucking her blood, which I'm assuming is one of the bats. And the creature goes, "No, you bad," smacks it, like it doesn't talk. And then she passes out again, and then she comes to later, and she's just covered in the stuff. And so Eve hears a roar sound coming from down an increasingly narrow tunnel, where she's like having to squeeze through. And she finds the creature sitting by an underground pool, which is lit up in blue. and she watches as its outer shell peels away, revealing a sleek, silvery layer beneath, like a porpoise.
I don't know. I don't know. I get why they wrote this in, because like, oh, it's don't judge a book by its cover. We're all love each other. Don't do a fern gully. Don't blow up the forest. I get this, but like the creature in its own right is a badass, beautiful creature. Even the one they described with all the tentacles and shit, I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah,
You don't have to then make it more interesting to look at. It's very interesting to look at right now.
I don't mind it, but you could take it out of this and it wouldn't make a difference.
I just don't get how it works.
Yeah, I don't either. But I mean, it's nanotech, like iron.
And now that I think about it too, does it happen again in the script?
She it armors up in this scene and then peels back again and then never again.
Yeah, then it's literally just in this scene.
I'm sure you're gonna mention. I'm sure you're gonna mention it later in the script what she theorizes, Bruce. But I have an idea for why this is in it, but I'll save it for then.
But no, my whole thing of it is that you could take it out, it wouldn't really lose anything except a few $1 million off the budget.
Exactly.
And then so she talks gently to it, so she basically mansplains to the creature to get it to listen to her. And then trying to get it to show her where the Praedovirus is. And so it decides to trust her and retracts the outer shell, leads her off into the tunnels again. And it takes her to a grotto where it has piled up kelp for a nest. It also has set up a shrine consisting of bones and random human items, like dolls, coins, etc. The radio they've been tracking is in there. And so Eve offers the creature her brother's watch because, hey, it doesn't work anymore, so fuck it. Fuck my brother.
It was a nice moment. I like that little scene.
Yeah, I do like it. But it accepts, and she once again tries to ask it about the virus because she still thinks it understands English.
Yep.
And it's like that scene in Predator where the woman, she doesn't speak English until Arnold speaks English to her really hard, and then she does.
Yeah.
And so that's when a smoke grenade lands in the cave, and then the creature goes, oh shit, shells up, camouflages itself, flees into the cave, and then men in scuba gear soon appear, led by Jack, who takes Eve back to the boat. And they buddy breathe on the way back, so they're growing even closer.
Yay. It's not the worst romance, but like, yeah.
Because it doesn't really become a romance.
Yeah, I mean, it's alright.
Spoilers,
I think that's why I don't mind it so much, because they didn't just like start making out in the third act climax or whatever.
They more become just kind of friendly as it goes along.
Maybe in, like you can see it develop over multiple movies and actually kind of buy it at the end,
She tries to tell Jack they need to go down there for the virus, but he doesn't believe her about the creature as it was gone before he could see it. And he also lets on that Eve has been gone for several days, shows her Juki, who is in cardiotoxic shock from the tree frog poison, so he's only mostly dead.
Yeah.
She says it will take... she says it'll take too long to get him back to civilization for help, because he needs a blood transfusion, and unlike Van Helsing, she doesn't just go like, let's transfuse everybody's blood, which is what happens in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my god.
And then asks Jack if he's fixed the radio. Eve calls up Turner, who is also skeptical of her story and doesn't want to send a team to search the caves. He's like, oh, so you're saying you were saved by a squid man? But then she drops the bomb that the bullet killed her and the virus brought her back. It's not just a cure for cancer, but potentially a cure for everything. And that really gets his attention.
Yep.
And Jack tends to Eve's wound. He's like, you're going to need to get the bullet taken out of you eventually, but you're fine for now.
Fine, you're so good. You've never been better.
And she never does get it taken out, by the way.
No, she does the rest of the movie like with this bullet hanging out inside of her body.
But I mean, if Frankenstein can have 2 bullets in his heart, I guess she can now that she has super virus in her.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then she compares they bond more. She compares the creature to the hopeful monster theory about how the first of a species that mutates and then must find a mate to avoid dying off. And he goes, haha, he wants to mate with you. Who wouldn't?
See, that's why I think they did the outer shell thing, because I think they were probably, I don't know, weird theory, maybe later on in the series of movies or something, they were going to develop a romance a la Shape of Water.
They never would have done in a PG-13 blockbuster though. Like Shape of Water had like full creative freedom, you know.
I didn't say I like it. I'm just saying.
But she also says it was acting like a lonely child. And that, I think, is why the abuse stuff is in there. That's why she is so protective of the creatures, because she reminds him of her brother, which makes what you just said even worse.
Hey man, I wasn't the one who in the script wrote he wants to mate with you, okay? There was no subtext from that part, okay?
Also, there was half a second where I was reading this, and I'm like, are they going to do a hacky thing where the creature actually is her brother?
Oh God, no.
No.
But thank God they did not. But so Jack is, he pulls a Finn from Rise of Skywalker and goes, Eve, I should tell you something. But before he can, helicopters are heard. She dashes off. So 3 amphibious helicopters arrive, which makes me wonder, why didn't they send them in on helicopters? Bearing Turner and his security team, led by an ex-Marine named Crawford. Hi, new guy we're introducing this far into the script. And they meet in the lab with Eve explaining its abilities, and they make a plan to lure the creature out, tag it, and follow it to the virus, and they suggest using Eve as bait since the creature already likes her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that she's not afraid of the creature. It's like pretty much well established, like she's like pretty good with it. But even when they're like, yeah, let's use you as bait, she's like, what? Why? Excuse me? Like, she's like, I don't want to be bait.
Yeah, that is weird. Eve checks in on Juki and then goes to see Jack in his stateroom because he's in the bathroom, presumably taking a shit. And then the boat rocks, his notebook falls out, opening up to the page where he's drawn reasonably close pencil sketches of the creature. And I'm like, that's not his notebook. It just fell open to that page of the Devil's League. It's his copy of the Devil's League.
Oh. I'm not gonna say I thought about that because that would be, weird, pat myself on the back kind of thing. But like, I kind of thought about that.
Wait, guys. Hoxton, his journal.
It's one could even say it's available now wherever books are sold, Xander.
Jack Schiff stole Hoxton's journal.
Yeah. I mean,
That's why we never see him again in the later scripts. Hoxton killed him because he stole his journal.
Right after the Devil's League ends, Jack Swift shows up, knocks out Hoxton with his bare hands, and takes his book and runs away.
No. You're forgetting his last name. He
Yep.
doesn't knock him out. He just swiftly grabs it.
Oh, he's like, he's so fast. Hoxton doesn't even see him. He just runs like the Flash and takes the book.
Yes. He runs like Sonic. Okay. So no, that was fine. But so he comes out of the bathroom, and she's like, you knew about him. And also there's this thing about him carving like a tiny wooden flute that makes creature calls, and it doesn't do shit in this script. So it's like, why did you even establish that? How would he even know what it sounds like?
I don't know. I like the bamboo flute thing. I thought that was interesting.
It is what it is.
But then he starts to explain himself when Turner walks
I thought about that too.
And so they zip tie him to a railing in the galley, and he's like, I'm not the bad guy, I'm here. Like Ben Affleck's Daredevil, I'm not the bad guy, kid. And, Turner isn't who he says he is, but Eve and Smith leave him there. And so they set off in the helicopters for the Black Lagoon with Turner, Crawford, Smith, and Eve riding in one of them. And so Crawford hands Eve a handgun, which fires a tracking chip they'll use on the creature. And they set down at the lagoon, leaving Eve on the shore. Smith hands her Jack's wooden flute. So they fly away just out of sight. Eve blows on the flute, which doesn't seem to work, and then she hums, because there's a whole thing earlier where it's like, what do you mean you don't want to hum? Are you afraid you have a bad voice? Which I forgot to take notes on because it didn't seem important.
Oh, I thought the flute did work.
No, because it doesn't seem to work at first. Then she starts humming, and then the creature
My bad, then. Sorry.
It emerges from the trees. Yeah, my bad, too. I mean, it's confused. I think it's meant to have worked, but it doesn't seem like it does from the description. And so it appears emerging from the trees, dropping its camouflage, but before Eve can even aim the tracking device at it, the helicopters return and start firing tranquilizer darts at the creature. Oh no! The evil corporation is an evil corporation.
Crazy to think about.
Egads!
And Smith ropes down from the helicopter, holds Eve back, while the creature cloaks and runs for the tree line. It climbs a tree, uses its spots to mesmerize the pilot of the nearby helicopter, leaps onto the nose, making it spin out and crash. Okay, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a badass scene. And it walks away from the explosion.
Yes, it does.
I'm pretty satisfied. When the creature is out fucking up a bunch of guys, I'm very happy with the script. I'm happy.
Yeah, honestly, I really do enjoy the creature. I think he's pretty cool.
But he was hit by one of the darts and passes out, allowing Turner's guards to tether and muzzle it before loading it onto the lead helicopter. And so Turner gets out a medical kit, performs a test on the creature's blood, turning it blue. He tells his men to blow it, and the helicopters fire missiles into the lagoon, turning it into a smoking crater. Bye, Black Lagoon.
Yep. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! It's Pocahontas, Ferngully, and both avatars. Oh, who would have guessed? Oh,
I'd rather watch
man.
Avatar.
Oh no! It's everything. It's all of the things.
He tells Eve that the creature's physiology has adapted to the virus from continued exposure, so they no longer need the virus itself. I kind of doubt that. Also, if you wanted to try a blood sample, you could have tested her blood.
Oh yeah, shit.
That's true because Jack actually did believe her.
Which granted, she hasn't continuously been exposed to it, but she was exposed to it enough to come back from the dead.
Mm-hmm. That's canon.
Yeah, it should have brought her.
They should have at least tried.
I would say that the flash drive or whatever, and also the vial of black stuff, that's still important and relevant as scientists for doing what you're trying to do. Like, it'll save you more time if you have all that crap, too.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, I forgot to mention it when she was mentioning the whole hopeful monster thing. It can't be the first of its kind. You know why?
Why is
Why?
that?
Because in The Mummy, Dr. Jekyll has a creature arm in a jar.
Oh my
right.
god! No way! You're so right, and I'll tell you what, it's the exact hand, like a very close replica of the classic design. Probably
Yeah.
not what this would end up looking like anyway. Wow. Wow, Bruce. Jesus Christ. Bring it all the way back.
So I'm assuming either Kurtzman wasn't talking to anybody, or that was something they decided, hey, we can do this during production.
No one talked. The answer is no one talked because there's 3 different ways to do Frankenstein in all of these Dark Universe scripts.
Also, had to be that they said Progesium and set design, and studio had told set design, just shove as much references as you can.
Okay, and then he tries to justify destroying the lagoon, saying it's a necessary evil, because once word of this gets out, all these profiteers are going to show up. They're going to descend on the raid force, destroy it. The poor natives are going to die.
Brr, brr.
And Eve goes, yeah, you're right.
Great point.
Yeah, and they soon arrive back at the boat. He hands her the vial, telling her to use it to save Juki. However, it's too late, even though it can bring people back from the dead.
Yeah, once you could do that, it's like, who cares who dies, you know?
I really thought she was gonna like have like a oh wait moment and like maybe like put the blood in his mouth or something, but they didn't do that, and so I have to say that I hate Juki's death. Juki was a great character. Man should have had a better death or lived.
It should have been better than getting killed by frogs.
Yeah, exactly.
And before long, Turner is left with the creature, and he's taking it back to the Diamond Corporation headquarters we saw earlier, Xander's favorite place. Eve goes to speak with Captain Jack Swift, who tells her that Turner is going to use the creature's blood not to cure cancer, but, oh god, guys, and we could tell this from one of Turner's first lines in the script, they're going to weaponize it.
Oh my god. The term uncreative doesn't even begin to describe that. Like, oh, we don't want to cure cancer, we don't weaponize it.
This is also half the plot of The Wolfman.
That too.
Because that was all about Frankenstein Corporation was trying to weaponize the werewolf virus.
You're so right. But even like whether or not Wolfman exists and copies the same bad story, it's still dumb, even the context of this, because it does not need to be here. The corporation can still be evil by blowing up the whole jungle and dissecting the creature. But no, we got to make them even more evil by ripping off even more plot lines from other movies about saving the Earth. And I was like blown away.
There's no point. I was just like, okay, cool. Surprise, surprise.
But they're like, we can use it to make super soldiers who can heal super fast and cloak. And I'm like, man, Adrian Griffin built an invisibility suit in his garage.
With a box of scraps.
Box of scraps.
Vio's like, he didn't tell her because I wasn't sure if I could trust you. So Smith enters the galley. I actually like Smith as a character. And I like this moment where he's like, hey, you may be an asshole, but you at least deserve to eat. So he brings Jack his dinner. And then Eve is like, he has a gun. Bashes him over the head with a fire extinguisher. And then Jack breaks off the railing, knocks him out with it. So they get the keys, unlock Jack. And so he lived. So Smith lives. So he can come back in the sequel and the creature can fight like 1,000 of him on the playground. But so they stop to get Jack's backpack, and then Jack and Eve, they steal the remaining helicopter, which Jack conveniently can fly.
He's Jack Swift, man.
Tank, I need a helicopter.
The freeway, sir.
Hey, how else are you gonna measure up to Tom Cruise?
I will say, if this had a twist that this was taking place in the Matrix, that would be way better than the ending of this script.
It might explain more about what's happening.
I'd believe it.
Cast the Merovingian as Turner. But yeah, he tells her that Turner, he's not actually going back to the headquarters. He's taking the creature to the coast to put it on a boat and ship it out of there. And we would have no idea where. So then he remembers, but they're like, how do we find out where the ship is? And he's like, he's like, oh yeah, Eve, you speak like 2 words of Portuguese. So he goes like, yeah, we're gonna call up air traffic control. You read them our serial number, and they'll tell us our flight plan. So she does that, and they're like, I don't know what the fuck he's saying, but oh, I recognize the word. They're going to Rio.
I know like 1 word of Portuguese or something, and then he's like, you can do it. Trust me. I believe in you. And now suddenly she can just try harder and magically gain the knowledge of how to speak more Portuguese. I don't know. That scene was a weird way to do it.
We're hitting all the things that like people know about Brazil: jungle, river, Rio,
Amazon, Rio de Janeiro. No Brazilian people, just like this movie.
Well, we get some Brazilian people in the 3rd act.
Yeah, to die and scream.
But sure enough, Turner's helicopter has arrived in Rio, and they load the drugged creature onto a cargo truck. And so Jack and Eve, they have quite a few scenes of them just flying in the helicopter to get to Rio. I do like that they don't magically get there at the same time, which is something that happens in a lot of movies.
Oh, yeah.
It happens in Wolfman 2010, where they all leave London at the same time on different conveyances, and they all get to friggin' Anthony Hopkins' house.
Well, Lawrence was
identical
frickin'
times.
walking there, so my
Yeah,
man's
and he
got...
gets there first.
Yeah.
But they continue to fly towards Rio. Jack has Eve take his notebook and keys from the backpack. Tucked between the pages is a photo of a man in his 50s whom Jack refers to as Robert Walton, the secret head of the Diamond Corporation and the black sheep of the Walmart dynasty. I made that part up. Basically it's like, oh, Diamond Corporation is responsible for a lot of bad things in the world, and Walton is behind all of it. They don't say what. They just say a lot of bad things in the world. And the name Robert Walton, I'm going to table deeper discussion on this for later, because I have theories. But he is the ship captain from the Frankenstein book who finds Frankenstein in the Arctic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're going to table that because I have theories.
Me too. There's a lot of implications there.
The creature starts to regain consciousness in the back of the truck and spits acid onto the tethers, which I like that. Clever.
Yeah.
Back
cool.
in the helicopter, Jack explains he's working with people, we don't say who they are, who are trying to stop, I'm just going to say it, they're Prodigium.
Who could they possibly be?
But they're trying to stop Walton, and he opens up the key fob, revealing a button with a symbol on it, which is a circle inside a triangle. And that is not the Prodigium logo.
It's not. I googled the logo again to make sure it wasn't, and it is not.
Yeah, I did too.
Logo.
That is the Deathly Hallows logo.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that the Deathly Hallows?
It is.
Yeah, and but he says that's going to call them, and he'll be able to track them to where they are in Rio. And she's like, "How do I know they're not going to do the same thing Walton and Turner are going to do to the creature?" And he was like, "Well, you just have to trust me." And so she goes, "Okay," pushes the button, and the truck pulls up to a shipping port. When the guards open the back, it's empty, and then creature spits acid on one of them, throws the other one into like a crate, and then runs away. That's also similar to Jurassic World. They're like, "Where's the Indominus?" And then they walk in.
Yep.
And so the creature stays, and so blah, blah, blah. Turner calls up a crooked police captain named Alves, tells him, "Have your men search the city for the creature. This is what you're looking for." And then we get a scene where like the creature's going through the city, the ball bounces off him while he's cloaked, and he scares an amorous young couple in an alleyway. And then he gets scared too, flees, ends up in a crowded street in the middle of Carnival. Check it off your stereotype list.
Yep.
And like fucking Jaws from Moonraker comes walking out with his big stupid hat on.
I mean, this is clearly being inspired from Revenge when like he just is like going through all that beach town and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's all I gotta say.
I don't know if you're gonna make mention of it, Bruce, but was the creature longing for an 8-year-old girl?
I don't think it was longing. I think it was just like, oh, it's like a cute child.
I don't know. The way, like, maybe it's just the way it was written. It was just like, why was that in there? What? I don't know. It was very strange.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be an innocent moment, like Frankenstein and the little girl.
I hope so.
And so the creature, the crowd and the creature both freak out. At least they don't do the hacky thing where it's like, "Hey, nice costume, man." But the crowd starts panicking, the creature starts panicking, runs into a nearby hospital, and then it lingers near the maternity ward because this is now Halloween 2.
Yep.
It's just kind of watching the newborns curiously, and then the nurse goes, "Ah!" And then the creature flees. This gets the attention of Alves, who reports the creature's location to Turner, and Turner's like, "Don't go in with your men. Find it, but don't do anything for me. Don't actually do shit for me that I couldn't do myself." And so Jack and Eve, they're still flying, and they're like, "Hey, people are panicking in the streets. Maybe it's the creature, but we should go that way, not where they're running to."
That's the smart thing to do.
Yep, that's the obvious thing to do. And so the creature, who has fled deeper into the hospital, hears the crying of a child in the burn unit, finds a young boy who has been badly burned. He puts his hand on the boy's head, but then he hears footsteps, goes, "Oh shit," runs. And so Diamond Guards burst into the room, hold this poor kid at gunpoint, and then they see he's been healed. So that's kind of a Shape of Water moment.
That is a Shape of Water moment. That's ripped straight from...
But over a year before that movie came out.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly be ripping it off, obviously, but like that's just like straight out of that movie.
And so they hear a noise, they look out the window, see the creature fleeing away on a nearby roof. And so Eve and Jack, they arrive in the neighborhood, and Eve's like, "It's scared, it's going to hide." And so they go, "Let's check the sewers, because this game hasn't had a sewer level yet."
Nope.
And so we get a moment that I don't think is meant to be funny, but it's fucking hilarious, where Jack's like, "I'm going to blow on my stupid little flute." And then they hear something coming. They're like, "Hey, it worked." But no, it's just Diamond Guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
You hold him at gunpoint, and he's on the radio going, "Sir, what do we do?" It's just them, sir." "What do you mean you want us to kill them?" And then he's like, "Okay, guys, kill them." They're like, wait. Don't do that. And then the creature crashes in from above. This action scene's actually pretty cool. Jack takes out one guard. The creature takes out the other two. And then it almost spits on Jack Swift. And he's like, no. I want to fuck him. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the scene where she helped Jack off the creature in the sewers.
Damn it, Jake. Seriously. Come on, man.
Oh, and
I'm literally correct.
oh no.
No, he needed help, and she helped him. I don't know what you guys are freaking out about.
And so Eve notes that the guards were carrying lethal rounds, so they're only after the blood now. And I'm like, that's not smart.
Yep.
Although I will say that scene would probably have been shot the same way War for the Planet of the Apes did that one scene where it's like it's dark, but then the gunfire fucking lights up the action part. definitely totally would do that.
I also really like the creature. Again, any scene where the creature is fucking up a bunch of guys, big fan. But it is kind of like the guys are about to kill them in that moment, and the creature jumps in and saves them. It feels very Marvel superhero-y, like somehow the creature just can understand English and knew that they were gonna kill them in that exact moment and sprung up. It's a coincidence, and it's maybe worse. I don't know.
It's the Dark Universe. Of course, it's superhero.
And then at the end of the House movie, they team up and fight a big bad. They fight Tom Cruise or something. I don't know.
No. Tom Cruise is a leader.
Is he the villain? I don't think they knew what they were doing.
I will say all these other Dark Universe scripts better than The Mummy.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have rather watched this. I think that the Dark Universe would have had a stumbled, crumbling footstep, but it still would have had some sort of leverage if this was the very first one.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Has the creature used his tentacles at all to attack?
No, they're the design choice.
Okay, so it's literally just for flair. Okay.
I don't think he has like straight up Venom style 20-foot tent. I think it's just like stuff on his face.
They're purely cosmetic. He got them through a microtransaction.
Got it. Okay.
Part of the DLC.
That makes sense.
And so Jack gets a text from his people, which is really funny imagining Dr. Jekyll sending text messages. But they're waiting for them at San Conrado, which is a few miles away on the shore. So they return to the surface, they hijack a streetcar, they riot down the road, and the creature's getting on top of it going, wee! It's like the ending of E.T., but they don't fly.
So we've just gone full kids movie.
They're pursued by Black Diamond SUVs, which ram the streetcar as it passes a park by the ocean and knock it over. Crawford and several other guards emerge, and they somehow have gotten goggles that block the creature's hypnotic ability. And the creature's just like, what? And it's distracted long enough that it's in danger. But Jack just goes, bam! Shoots Crawford in the head. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that scene was weird to me because she helped Jack off the villain. Jack wanted to kill the villain, so she helped Jack off him with the gun.
No,
I'm fucking clever. You guys do not
Bruce,
appreciate.
for all my tangents,
you guys don't appreciate both
is...
instances of my Jack-related wordplay that I used. You guys don't care at all. Wow, I worked hard. Damn it.
I want to apologize to the listeners for that one.
What? I don't know. You guys are freaking out over nothing. He needed to die, so she helped Jack off him.
Oh my god, we get it.
But then Turner shoots Jack in the chest. The creature flees into the park, the guards in pursuit, and the guards just disappear after this scene.
So I didn't skim.
So he then goes to finish Jack with a headshot. You keep your mouth shut. And Eve holds him at gunpoint, and he goes, what do you mean? You're not going to shoot me. And then, bam! No hesitation. I like that. That was a cool moment.
I won't say what I'm going to say. Continue.
Please don't.
But then Eve is like cradling Jack, going, I'm going to go get help. He goes like, no, help the creature instead, and he dies. But like, I mean, you have an anti-death cure now. It's like...
My theory is... I mean, okay, this is probably just shot in the dark, because, again, we've already established none of these writers were reading each other's scripts, but I think it's that we had to not make mention to this because Tom Cruise's mummy character can bring people back to life. So we can't have more than one MacGuffin that can bring people back to life. Mm-hmm. So let's just not mention it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you can't not do that because virtually every monster is resurrected. Like, resurrection is a common theme in the Universal Monster canon, you know?
Technically, Dracula resurrects people. That's just his thing.
That's kind of his thing.
Yeah.
Frankenstein was literally dead and then brought back, and then...
The lunar moon resurrects Wolfman.
The Invisible Man just comes back as a different guy every time.
Mummy's resurrected.
Yeah.
Creature just comes back with no explanation every film. I don't know.
Creeper.
Yeah, I guess Creeper.
Creature comes back with no explanation until he commits suicide. But okay. But let's go. Let's keep going. So he dies tragically. It's actually a decently written scene aside from that problem we mentioned. And we then see Eve emerge from the park onto a rocky cliff above the sea, where a helicopter and several men are waiting for her. They are led by Henry Jekyll with a random C in there. And it says he is 40s and has a light Irish accent. I think that is, I mean, notoriously, when Russell Crowe did Robin Hood, the British press crucified him for having an accent that went all over the islands.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if Pinker is like, I don't know what accent he's going to be doing.
Right, because Russell Crowe hadn't actually acted in the film yet, because this was written before that came out.
Yes.
Okay, I know Bruce hates it when I comment on this writer, but if he didn't know what accent he was going to do, why did you even bother writing what accent he had in the script? Why would it matter? Why include it?
I don't hate it when you do that, but you do have a point there.
Do you think what could have happened is that Russell Crowe, about to star in Mummy, is like, I'm going to do an Irish accent, mate. And then he writes that in, and then in the film he's like, I'll just do this instead.
This whole time we're establishing nobody's talking to anyone, but Russell Crowe decided to pop in one time, said, what's this creature? I'm going to do an Irish accent.
The one thing I want to contribute to the lore of the universe here, the one thing I'm actually connecting on.
Now, also, it says he's in his 40s. Or at least he looks like he's in his 40s. So if Tom Cruise is the younger man...
Yeah, good point.
But then again, maybe they could decide later on that he actually is hundreds of years old. We don't know. But also, there's a specific line they used to describe him, which is just so out of sync with his portrayal in The Mummy. A man you would instantly entrust your life to, unless you're Nick Morton.
Interesting.
Because he's an asshole in that movie.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But then she tells him she lost the creature in the park. He says, oh, but it didn't lose you. And then the creature is lurking in the tree line. This scene, I will say, I will give them this, the Prodigium stuff, very unobtrusive.
Yes, it's handled well.
Yeah.
And I like the implication that Jekyll / a little bit of Hyde can see like where the creature is because he's good at monsters and stuff. Like I appreciate that.
Cool.
That's subtle. That's cool.
I mean, they're both made from CGI.
They are,
so
in fact,
the
same origin of CGI.
But okay, so Jekyll is like, I know your instinct is to send it back to the jungle. And I'm saying, no, it wouldn't be, because they blew the fuck out of its home. But
Yeah.
But he said, no, but you can't do that, because Walton will scour the earth for it. But I was like, we have a facility in a place where the creature will be safe and can be studied, and Walton can never find him. And Eve is skeptical, but then Jekyll was like, hey, you can be the caretaker. He's already imprinted on you, like a werewolf. And that they could use someone like her for the work they do, because she's like a talented scientist already. And so the creature approaches Eve, and as she tells him he'll be okay and he won't be alone, he reaches out his hand and returns her brother's watch. And it's a really nice moment, but the only thing I can think of is, where was he keeping that watch? In his ass?
I thought about this, like, shoved into the scales that come over the hand. I don't know.
The cloaca.
But okay, so we get a good scene, and then we get to the thing that completely derails this thing and makes me think less. It cuts to sometime later in Prague, where Eve sits at an outdoor cafe, and Charles Dance walks up and says, let the games begin. No, that doesn't happen. But it kind of does.
It is absolutely hilarious that they reveal with an MCU post-credits scene Robert Walton, a D-list supporting character from the novel Frankenstein.
It's not even a post-credits scene. It's the ending of the movie.
Sorry, again, I did the same thing. The end of the film, which is worse. Like, it's such like a... Did you think people would be like, hell yeah, they're bringing in Robert Walton to the universe. Yeah! I didn't even know this was, and I love that book. I had to Google him.
And they made him into a bad guy. Why?
Is he? I again, like, it... I had to look him up, like, oh yeah, it was this guy who did some of this narrative of the book. It's like, it's such like a nothing role. I don't know.
And it's not a Universal reference, so why do it?
That's true. He's not even in the classic movie.
But no, she's got the photo. She's thumbing through Jack's notebook, and it says, "There's pictures of monsters we've seen and some we haven't." So, so Aminette, maybe Luke Evans.
The script is like some we've
creature.
seen before, some we haven't.
Wolfman.
I don't know what other people are writing here, so I guess I'll just put like that we could put anything here when you guys make those movies.
Benicio del Toro's character will show up.
So Rock Wolf, maybe Elizabeth Bathory from the Van Helsing script, Quasimodo, Phantom, the Invisible Man is just a blank page.
That'd be so funny. They should have done that. I have a photo of him.
Bride of Frankenstein because that movie would have been out by now.
If this world had kept going, are we to assume that Prodigium would have had a random bell in the place for Quasi to just hang out in, and in Jekyll's office there's a giant organ that he has the Phantom just play music all the way?
It's the setting of where they're most known for, but in Prodigium, like a recreation.
Okay, so this random guy walks up, sits down, his face isn't seen yet. He's like, I'm sorry I'm late. And he's like, hey, are you hungry? You should really try the fucking moose or whatever it is. I'm like, what is this, a Seinfeld scene? And it's like, she's like, no, I can't stay because I'm going to be seeing the facility on Monday, as she passes the man the key fob, which isn't going to do anything because it's a tracking dot. But then it's like, she's like, I told you this was working. I was like, I'm often wrong. And we see that it's Robert Walton, and he's like, oh, you did well, but did you really need to kill so many of our people? And Eve is like, oh, I wanted to make it look good. It's like, no, you enjoyed it. Then she reaches into her purse, hands Walton a vial of the creature's blood, says, we'll be in touch, and then disappears into the crowd that says she's camouflaged by them. Ooh, and it ends. Fuck this ending. This makes no sense. Let me go off for a minute. There's nothing. I've read this twice now. There's nothing to indicate that she's a bad guy before then. If she's been with them the whole time, why would she even try and stop them? What the hell is going on? Why is this happening? Why would she need to stop them? Why would she be like, no, don't capture the creature? Why would she free Jack to stop them? Unless they're like, we want Prodigium to capture the creature for some reason. Fuck this.
Yeah, no, you make great points. I was actually a little mixed at first, like, oh, okay, you're doing the No Way Out thing with Kevin Costner, where it actually was. But then, like, you start thinking about it, and it's like, no, it doesn't line up. It doesn't matter. We even know, like, because at this point, Prodigium is so early on, like, we don't know, are Prodigium actually good guys? Because in The Mummy 2017, they were fucking up Amunet with all that, like, mercury or whatever the fuck. So, like, are they to be trusted? Are Robert Walton's team more to be trusted, even though they're going to blow up the jungle? I don't know. But more importantly, the ending undercuts her and the creature's relationship, since she's actually double-crossing everyone around her. Because, like, everything that we thought was allegiance to, like, Jack, oh, they're kind of falling or whatever, is now, like, I was actually playing you. Like, everyone in the movie, she's just being an asshole to without them realizing. So did she actually care about the creature? At this point, who cares? Who fucking knows?
At this point, the whole brother thing, it gets completely wiped out because anything any relevance that had is removed.
Yeah.
Right. It's double not important because the ending scene could have been something that ties that together if you're gonna keep that in the movie.
Yeah, but no. You want me to get into my theories of where this is going?
Yeah, I got theories of my own. I want to hear yours
Yeah,
first.
that's fair.
I think Robert Walton is going to be the villain of the crossover.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they maybe would have established something about him, maybe a little bit in the Bride of Frankenstein movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if both scripts remain the same, maybe he's behind both Diamond and Frankenstein Corporation, and maybe he gets up to some more shit in the jungle, and that's why they send Wolf Rock and Captain Jack Griffin to go get him.
I like where you're going. I'm gonna cook similarly. I'm gonna keep the grill at a similar temperature here. I think Frankenstein Corp is Diamond Corp. I think they ended up calling it Diamond Corp. I said this earlier, but I think they're one and the same. And by the time Wolfman Rock comes out, it's called Diamond Corp instead of Frankenstein Corp. I think you're right. Robert Waldron is playing an overarching villainous role. I'm not sure he's like the villain. You'd probably get a monster to be the villain. Why wouldn't you?
What if he's like the figurehead, but it ends up being that Charles Dance is the one like puppeteering everything? Ooh. And the way that Robert got all his money was because Charles Dance has been alive for a millennium, and vampires just have a bunch of money. So
Yeah, but the Van Helsing script establishes that Dracula killed the vampire who turned him. So
That's true. The reality is there's no way to reconcile these like 4 or 5 scripts like without like rewriting kind of all of them, right? Like none of them fit with each other perfectly.
I mean, Van Helsing is off on its own side doing its own thing.
Right. Van Helsing double contradicts because the Frankenstein hypothesis, he wouldn't say that if there's a company about Frankenstein, or Frankenstein was like public knowledge or something like that. Remember, Bride was also part of the script cycle. Bill Conner was off writing that on his own, and no one could get a hold of it, goddammit. But, like, all these writers who wrote these scripts probably knew about the story of Bride, because that was the next one up after The Mummy.
Yes.
So Waldron might have been in it. That might have been why he's like a big mic drop. Because they revealed him in like a I keep saying post-credit. They revealed him at the end of the movie like it's like a big dramatic reveal. Like, oh my god, it's Robert Waldron. But like literally in the script, he's mentioned like once, and there's like a photo of him. It doesn't matter. So if he was already a character in Bride, him cameoing here might actually like they think have significance. So I think he was going to be in Bride.
But yeah, Bride, that's the big piece of the puzzle we're missing.
Yes. I think once we get that script, I'm sure they wrote more than that just script, but like then we have like the entire picture basically. We have the entire like disjointed roadmap of what they were going to do.
We have that and the Invisible Man script.
Oh yeah, they wrote that too. You're right.
And maybe the couple of rewrites that were done to some of these scripts, because we do know there was other writers.
The time frame in which these scripts are being written was pretty distinct. It would be like, aside from the early Mummy scripts, it'd be like 2016, early 2016 to when The Mummy came out. And they obviously not going to keep writing scripts after that. So that's a good like year and a half worth of writers coming together, separately writing scripts on these monsters.
Well, we do know the writers' room was together at least once, because there's that interview where Eric Heiser, who co-wrote the Van Helsing script, said that they were in a room together, and somebody asked, "Are all the monsters villains or are they all heroes?" And then someone else said, "We'll build the plane while we're flying it."
Yeah. I laughed when you said that the writers were all together once. The actors weren't. They just photoshopped them all together in that photo.
That's right.
And not all of them were even in the photo. There's no Rock.
That's true. Well, they hadn't signed him on yet, I guess.
I don't think The Rock would have done it.
Well, I think that's what literally happened. I think it came by The Rock's desk, and The Rock's like, fuck this, I'm all set. But either way, what do you guys think about this script in terms of the other Dark Universe scripts? Like, is it among the better? Is it the worst?
I have my ranking. I think if you take the ending out of this, it would be maybe the best one. But because that ending is so bad, I put Van Helsing over it. And then Wolfman is at the bottom because that starts so promisingly and tanks so fast.
It does tank. Yeah.
I've only actually read this one as the Dark Universe script, so I have nothing to go on besides this and Mummy.
Man, Xander, it is an interesting journey.
I'm going to have to go and watch the other episodes you've done on these scripts for one, Bruce. I'm very intrigued now. But compared to the Mummy, I mean, yeah, I think I would have I probably would have been more intrigued by this one compared to Mummy. Even if the execution was just exactly what I read on script, I think I'd like it just based off the sheer fact of Mummy fatigue. Because if you really think about it, there's just way too many Mummy movies, too many Mummy remakes and stuff. So it would have just been nice to get something different.
Yep, I agree completely.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and that really goes for anyone. I mean, that's not even counting the fact that it'd be a new take on the Creature from Black Lagoon, or like just something about Creature from Black Lagoon, because we haven't gotten that forever.
You're right.
So.
It's like the least remade monster. I will say this too. Actually, let me just start my ranking. If I'm counting them, the early Mummy scripts before the Mummy 2017 are at the bottom. Easy bottoms. I just remember like the third act, I was like, I had taken notes, and then like when we were doing the show, there was a point where I just like zoned out of existence, and just because the third acts of those scripts were like just a slog, and they mean nothing and do nothing. Then Wolfman the Rock, the opening scene, Bruce, you're so right, is strong. It's like a great 20 minutes that will not measure up with the rest of the film. Then I think I'd put Creature. And, you know, again, Bruce, you're kind of right. The ending is so bad. I have more problems like throughout as well, like serious like plot holes. The Creature script has promising potential, mostly like when she's with the creature, just her and the creature is like the best scenes ever. And then Van Helsing at the top, which is just, I think I gave it like a 5 or a 4 out of 10. It was like barely like readable. Like, okay, I can actually see this being rewritten into a good movie. So none of these scripts are good. Not a single one I would say is like ready to be shot.
Just to keep with my reputation, was the Wolfman script, was Lawrence Talbot the main werewolf?
It was The Rock. No, it was a Hawaiian man because they thought The Rock was Hawaiian and not Samoan.
Okay. In that case, the Wolfman script is the worst of all.
Xander, he is a Hawaiian prince.
He is a prince.
Named Deo Kakoa, who can, when it's not the full moon, he can selectively transform parts of his body because he knows Hawaiian Kung Fu.
Yeah, like a Hawaiian martial art or something. And he uses his like mana. And he says the word mana, which is just like Terramana, his fucking drink that he sells.
Forget the joke. I do legitimately think I just put that on the bottom.
It's really bad, Xander. It's really bad.
I am sending that one to you as soon as we
God.
Please.
Oh, God.
So this script is written, and at some point between this and The Mummy coming out, they bring in Will Beall to do a rewrite of it, who he did a few things, like he wrote Gangster Squad. He has a story credit on Snyder's Justice League because he wrote like a Justice League script and they kind of used like some bits of it. He has a credit on the first Aquaman, not the second one. So he's written some stuff. He was the guy who was writing the Old Man Conan the Barbarian movie that got canceled. He wrote some drafts of that. But so they brought him in, and what's interesting is that the articles describing him doing it says screenplay by him, story by Jeff Pinkner, which would suggest to me it was a significant rewrite, but that could have just been the articles bullshitting because the trades sometimes do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was it was the King Cast where someone on there brought up that they had read a draft of Dark Universe Creature. They didn't say who wrote it, but I'm assuming it's the Will Beall draft because some things line up with what we read and some of them don't. They mentioned the underwater base. They mentioned that there's Jekyll showing up on a helicopter at the end, but they say it's Hyde. Mm-hmm. And they say it ends right there, so there isn't like a dumb ending.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But the other thing they mentioned is that there's apparently like a rocket fight. That apparently like the climax of the script is like people firing off rocket launchers or some shit.
Huh.
While the girl and the creature run away from the rockets.
Mm-hmm.
But then that movie doesn't come out because The Mummy happens. And it's one that's barely been touched since then. There was a Max Landis script from 2018 that didn't go anywhere, which I covered in my 4-hour episode. Go listen to that now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there was nothing until just recently they announced that James Wan is working on it with Blumhouse. So we'll see how that...
Yeah.
If it goes.
It will not. Can I add something here, which I think is very relevant?
Yes.
I pulled up the Rock Wolfman script and went to the last page to where they, have that like reference to this, allegedly this film that we just talked about for 2.5 hours.
Or maybe they're referencing the crossover.
Maybe, but I think, I don't know, maybe they did talk. Because, okay, so here's the script. It's The Rock Johnson, because Xander hasn't read this. It's The Rock Johnson talking to the Prodigium guy, who's not Jekyll, but very similar. And he's like, my name's Makomo. I work for Prodigium. And then The Rock is like, Prodigium, you mean the assholes who turned their heavy artillery on me? Honest mistake. How would you like to come work for us? You're just trying to get me to walk myself into a cage. And then he goes, there was a time where that might have been true, but recent events have forced us to change some of our policies when it comes to detainment and recruitment. And then later on the page, he goes, we'd like you to accompany us to the Amazon. Another one of Frankenstein Corps' gifts to the world is causing some problems down there. It's quite a beast, this thing. Might even give you a run for your money. And then The Rock is like, he brightens at that. Rumble in the jungle, huh? I'll think about it, but I want to bring my pack, blah, 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 blah. It's bad. It's bad. But I think maybe the writers, before they wrote these scripts, just said like a one-sentence idea of what they were going to do with each other's scripts, and then they wrote based off that. but technically nothing here conflicts. Like that is a very simplistic version of the plot of this script. So I don't know.
And also, it makes sense why they would bring the Invisible Man in on this, because creature stuff can camouflage. But yeah, so that's Dark Universe Creature from the Black Lagoon, and what an interesting journey this was.
It certainly
Really
was
was.
interesting. I'm so glad. Bruce, thank you. I've done nothing but badger you. I know you can't control when you get scripts, but like I've done nothing but annoy you and be like, dude, please get more Dark Universe. It's all I want in my life. And you finally got this like stumbling your way. Oh man, this has been a wild ride. Well, that's been the Creature Show.
Yeah.
That's been the Dark Universe Creature from the Black Lagoon. There was a hell of a lot more to talk about than I thought there would be.
Oh my God!
Thanks for having me on, Bruce. I hope I didn't derail the structure of the podcast.
No, this podcast doesn't have a structure.
Okay, all right.
No, if anybody derailed it, it's Mr. Jack Off over here.
Listen,
Okay, yeah.
listen. I don't know why you guys freaked out.
Yeah, that's going to be it for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
Where's your sense of adventure? Bye.